You're welcome back to The Big Issue, your platform for incisive analysis and riveting conversation, where we bring the issues home. This morning, we're looking at two issues. Number one has to do with the Occupy Jubilee House demonstration and the police crackdown on the protesters. Police versus the protesters. Where do we draw the line? Are the police being overzealous in their role to keep or to maintain law and order in society? What happens to the rights of people, the human rights of the people to demonstrate, to the right to assemble, or right to assembly, and to procession and demonstration? Article 21D of the 1992 Constitution. Is the police seeking to take that away, or it is the demonstrators or the protesters who are not following the rules? What does the Public Order Act say? We'll look at all of that today. Also, the Electoral Commission has addressed the nation or the press on providing updates of the limited voter registration exercise. They seem to be recording some impressive figures, and they hope that a press conference and a matters address will put to bed many of the issues raised by the political parties, especially the NDC. This is our show this morning. This is what we have on our plate. But before that, despite warnings from the police, hundreds of protesters gathered at the 37 military or 37 Trotro station in Accra on Thursday, September 21, 2023, to participate in the Occupy Jubilee House protest. The protesters are demanding a range of reforms, including a reduction in the cost of living, to an end to corruption and improved governance. The police had filed a court process seeking to injunct the protesters, but they nonetheless went ahead with the demonstration, hoping to march to the Jubilee House official residence or the president or seat of Ghana's presidency. The police responded by arresting several of the protesters, including some of the organizers. In all, 49 members of the group were put in custody and released late in the evening after widespread public outrage. A BBC reporter and his cameraman, a Metro TV reporter, were part of the detained protesters or detained persons found at the scene. But they were subsequently released. The protesters, unperturbed by the action of the police, returned on Friday to continue their demonstration. There is more in this report.
All of us who were arrested, our devices have been taken away from there. We've not been able to communicate with each other since yesterday. My phones, my house keys, my car keys, all of them are still being detained, as well as everybody. This morning I heard on radio that apparently the Inspector General of Police said he was meeting protesters. Nobody has reached out to me. I'm hearing this on radio for the first time. But I will be clear, and I've sought advice of my lawyers on this. I have zero interest in speaking or engaging with an IGP who continue to prosecute me. There are 4 prosecutions against me as I speak today. An IGP, when even the British High Commissioner tweeted that you are following my case of interest, released a 7-page letter claiming that I was a coup plotter who was looking to overthrow the government. What conversation do we have to say to each other? It's part of the systemic oppression of Ghanaians. And I'm not interested in any photo op that would create an impression that all is fine in this democracy. It is not.
Their children matter. The future of their children matter. They matter. So they should come out here and support us, because, Chale, Ghana is not just for me, it's not just for you, it's for all of us. And if Ghana gets better, it's better for our future and the generation that comes after us.
We need change. Things need to be right. We need to make sure that things are going right. The corruption is too much. The arrogance is too much. So many things are going wrong, and we need the right things to be done.
There is this understanding that a number of opposition parties will take advantage of this happening and then capitalize on it just to advance their own cause.
I don't think this is an opposition party or any opposition or a group of opposition parties doing. I think it is what the citizens are asking for. It has nothing to do with, NDC. It has nothing to do with CPP or PNC or any other political party. It has everything to do with Ghana and the change that people are seeking to have.
The day 2, according to the protesters, is totally about education. They want to use this opportunity and convey certain messages on placards and educate citizens about their rights. Now you see on the ground a number of placards with several inscriptions on them, some indicating that as we speak, Ghana is a crime scene, fix the country. And some say new constitution for a new generation, and we need an independent judiciary, fix the country. The buck stops with the president. We have ex gratia is a violence on the people, fix the country. What are you doing by the roadside with this placard?
I'm protesting.
Protesting against what exactly?
We want a better life. We are not asking like our leaders to give us heaven, right? We just want to survive. We want the systems to work. That's why we are here.
The protesters are now making their way to the Jubilee House, the seat of the president, to protest and send a message to the president as to what they think must be done right in the country. A number of them we've spoken to have indicated that the country doesn't seem to favor young men and women who are in their prime, ready to work for the development of this nation. They feel that if indeed a country would have to progress, certain things must be put right. It is obvious now that the police won't allow the protesters to go beyond the 37 military hospital, even not close to the Jubilee House, as they were demanding in their request. But literally, they've been here ensuring that no protester actually abuses the law, and the police are there in their number to enforce law and order. Now, the protesters, they've also taken seats on the floor on this street and educating one another and even citizens that are passing by about their fundamental human rights. And that is what they say the essence of today's protest was going to be.
So much powers have been given to the president, and the president is abusing his powers. And we want to serve a strong warning as young people of the Republic that the police service, they're supposed to help us to redeem this government. But so far as they don't want to help us, the young people of this country will repudiate the corrupt regime of Akufo-Addo.
Some lawyers, in particular Martin Pebu, has also been adding his voice to the protest.
We are demonstrating against the corruption. We are demonstrating against the corruption of President Akufo-Addo and his government. You see the money in Cecilia Dapa's house. You see, that's just a tip of the iceberg. That's why we are here to demonstrate against the corruption. That's why we're saying, look, OSP has to search all the ministers. OSP must search all the ministers and President Akufo-Addo, because what is happening in Cecilia Dapa's house is just a tip of the iceberg. We can't take it anymore. Look, some people live on 24 Ghana cedis a day. About 3 million Ghanaians live on 24 Ghana cedis a day. That is too low. How much can 24 Ghana cedis buy? What can it buy?
I was just listening to the news yesterday, and I heard that Ghana is bankrupt. I just have a few questions. Is Ken Ofori-Atta bankrupt? Is Akufo-Addo bankrupt? I don't think they are bankrupt. How did Ghana become bankrupt? I believe it's through mismanagement. I saw what COVID funds were used for. I'm friends with politicians and I see what is going on. We must change our ways.
So the protesters are defying the reins and they are staying in here. The media personalities, the journalists, I would say, are equally in the rain with them, as well as the police. We are all in the rain, basically following up on this particular protest. They say they are going nowhere until the police pave the way for them to make their way to the Jubilee House. Now you see them playing music and dancing right in the rain.
All right, so welcome back. So you saw or you heard that clip of the demonstration and what they were demonstrating for. A number of celebrities also joining in there, and the celebrity culture is becoming part of the things we do in this country as far as politics is concerned. You recall in the lead up to the 2016 election, a number of celebrities also came out to do a similar thing. Of course, In the doomsday times, we also saw a demonstration led by certain celebrities. Here we are seeing a different batch of celebrities joining in this particular demonstration. They say that they were demonstrating against the hardship in the country and a lot of other things which we will delve into. So this morning, to help us delve into the matters, we've been joined on set by Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed, Honorable Member of Parliament for Tamale Central, the Honorable Fuseni Issa, former MP for Okankwe North, and still an aspirant for that position in the constituency, Dr. John Osai Kwapon, political scientist and CDD fellow, Franklin Kujo, President Imani Africa, Michael Nandoma, Executive Director for Center for Public Opinion and Awareness. Gentlemen, you are welcome to the program. Of course, we'll be joined by Bernard Mona also for a very short period because he was at the demonstration. He got involved at some point. He had to sit with the people to negotiate the release of some of the detained protesters. So we'll speak to him briefly in the course of the program to understand his involvement and all of that, because originally this is not his group, he was not part of that. Gentlemen, you're welcome to the program. It's a pleasure to have you all on set today. Let me start off with you, Murtala. The Democracy Hub is a group you identify with, right?
I think every lover of democracy should identify with a group or any group that seeks to enhance our democratic.
Okay, I hear your microphone is so they'll resolve that for you quickly. Okay. they'll resolve that quickly so that we see. But let me come to you, Dr. Osai Kwapon. You're a political scientist and a CDD fellow. We've seen demonstrations in the past. We've seen, and in recent times, we're beginning to see a certain trend as well. What is your first impression about the manner in which this demonstration is being organized and the matters that have arisen therefrom?
Yeah, thank you very much. So I think for me, as you mentioned, the Constitution guarantees every citizen the right to freedom of assembly, to protest, to demonstrate. It is part of a democratic culture, and every so often, citizens, for one reason or the other, may decide that they want to come together to express their displeasure or raise awareness or point attention to some issue that they feel is bothering them. And so I was following the news when the Democracy Hub first served notice that they would have a demonstration on September 21st. I did see an update where they talked about they had a good meeting with the police to inform them, etc., etc. And then, of course, the day before, then you see this, you read the news again, and the police is seeking an injunction, against them. They still go ahead, and then you see the manner in which the police responded on day one. And the more I think about it, my initial thought was, there seemed to be some kind of a tension between the constitutionally guaranteed rights of citizens to assemble, to demonstrate, to protest, and how you administratively implement the Public Order Act. Lawyer Kweku Kensel, the other day I was on a show with him where he gave a lot more education on how the Public Order Act is supposed to be operationalized. I've always wondered what it means by you would inform the police. It appears to me that phrase inform is operationalized as you need the police's approval to be able to do that, right? So, you inform, but some way, somehow, the police can either deny or say wait or hold on or make some changes. And ordinarily, it shouldn't be a matter of contention if I want to go through this route. And in working collaboratively with the police, they may suggest one or two alternative routes. But there seemed to be this constant tension between the Constitution and the Public Order Act, and how you operationalize those two things in such a way that you can bring all of it into harmony. And I think that's...
Yes, the Public Order Act talks about informing the police or notifying the police. I think that is for good reason, because the police must know what's happening so that they can protect you, they can offer protection. And whilst you're demonstrating, there are others who also be going about their business. And they should also not be disrupted too much because of your demonstration. And the police must not be taken by surprise. That is the, in my view, that's what the law intended to do. But is it not because there's mistrust between the two sides that is causing this tension you talk about? Because the Constitution is clear on the rights, Article 21D, to demonstrate, process, etc. Public Order Act, I'm not sure, has a lot of confusion in there. It's also clear on what to do. So if the two sides disagree, they are not able to come to an agreement on what to do, you go to court. So the police will have to go to court. Is it not because of the mistrust that we don't see the two sides agreeing? So for example, I want to demonstrate, I want to go this way, but the police will come up and say, and most often is the case, that you can't go here, you can't do that because this side is a security zone, etc. Is it not mistrust? And at what point do we draw the line, really?
And I believe that mistrust plays a big role in that. Ordinarily, it shouldn't be an issue, right? If you get together with the police and the police says, maybe in these particular areas, if you were to go through there, it may be either disruptive or, there could be good reasons why you can accept certain alternatives. But it takes a lot of trust and it takes a lot of honest conversation. I start to think that when, for example, a group has notified you of the intention to demonstrate and almost a month goes by, and the night before the demonstration is when you seek to injunct that action, right? Even if it is well intended, the appearance of it smacks of an attempt to undermine or stop a legitimate action by citizens. And it is those things that continue to fuel that mistrust, and therefore you turn to the courts. One of the issues that I have always raised is, I'm not a big fan of running to the court for everything, right? I would like to believe that we are reasonable enough human beings that we can resolve certain differences using established administrative procedures, so long as they don't flout the law. Otherwise, then every time, even on the most minute thing that we can resolve, we have to run to the courts. Our courts, my understanding, also doesn't operate in a way where in the middle of the night, you can actually wake a judge up to give an emergency ruling on some action, right? So sometimes the very behavior or the very action that you are trying to injunct may either proceed long before the court is able to make a determination on it. So again, why can't we sit down, look at the law, look at how we implement the law administratively, and say, we can resolve this. We don't have to keep running to the court. And sometimes running to the court may actually make, quote unquote, the decision a lot more worse than you would expect. Because once you go to the court and the court establishes a precedent, right, you would have to live with that. And so it's not every time
that brings certainty. So that's a good way to go.
It brings certainty, but then we also then get regularly caught up in always trying to pass what I call the legal test, right? And not that it's a bad thing that when there's confusion, well, turn to the courts, have the courts clarify. I mean, in as much as I say this, I've been also thinking that, well, if the Constitution and the Public Order Act and the way it is being implemented is causing these sort of, tensions and all of that, then maybe ultimately we would have to turn to the courts. I mean, one of the things that I learned this week was that even on the specifics of the routes that a group wants to use to demonstrate, right, the police can, suggest an alternative route. Yeah. And if you disagree, right, you can run to the court and say, I want to go through street A, the police say street B. But I mean, why should such a minor detail be something that you want to run to the court to
you call it a
resolve.
minor detail, but if the police, in their security assessment, think that the kind of crowd that will go past a certain installation on that route could create problems, they have the right to suggest to you to change the route. If you don't agree, then maybe the court is the place to go.
But why bring in the court, to that? I
If
think
the two sides are not agreeing, there should be somebody to put them at the
some impartial arbiter to resolve it.
Let me. I wanted to start with Murtala, but the girls didn't agree. So yeah, Murtala, interesting turn of events we've seen. The Democracy Hub. You said you identify with the group, etc. And you were trying to make the point that every lover of democracy should identify with them. Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, good morning. And good morning to Doctor. Good morning to my brother. How is the campaign going for your parliamentary primaries?
You should actually be taking lessons from him because he's a comeback kid.
In fact, if there's any young politician in this country who should take lessons from participating in our democratic engagement, particularly electorally, that person should come to me. I've contested elections, I've won, I've lost. So I have been an MP of a rural constituency, I've been an MP of a city constituency. So you need to come to me for some lessons.
So you realize that this is the second time he's drawn me into his...
but you
realize that. No, Selo, just making a point.
It's an invitation you have declined.
It's an invitation to treat.
And you declined it nicely.
Well, like I said, you asked as to whether I identify myself with the group. I guess the question was to me as Murtala.
Murtala and somebody who comes from your tradition.
I don't speak for the NDC. I'm only a communicator for the party. The party has people who speak for the party. So if you ask me this question as Murtala, I would proceed in giving the answer as Murtala, as one of your panelists. I think every lover and believer in democracy...
You're confused about the speaking for the communicator.
Yes, because
that's fine.
Yes, a communicator is not the speaker.
The speaker, that's fine.
I can communicate the party's position, but that position must be taken by the party, not me.
And what does the speaker do?
A speaker is someone who speaks for the party. So if someone speaks officially, that determines the position of the party. So I can say something here that may not be the position of the party. And that's why I want to make that distinction. So you asked me that question. I say that anybody who believes in democracy should identify himself or herself with a group such as that. And it's not only that. Any group that seeks to enhance our democratic growth and to enhance the rule of law, to enhance good governance, and you are a believer of democracy, you certainly must identify yourself with such a group. And I believe that strongly Doctor would have identified himself with the group as long as what they pursue inures to the growth and the enhancement of our democratic development. So to that extent, I identify myself with the group in the quest of ensuring that this, our young democracy, is properly nurtured, is properly protected, and that the rights of citizens at any point in time ought to be respected. So if that answer suffices, then maybe I'll wait for your next question, because that was the specific question.
Right. So now we've had issues of protesters saying this is where they want to go. There's no compromise. Of course, not to bring in the Occupy Bank of Ghana. Your guys say that's where they want to go, and there's no compromise. Police say go to the Independence Square, say that's not where you want to go. Now this Democracy Hub protesters also say they want to go to the Flagstaff House or the Jubilee House. Police says no, you cannot go there because that's a security place, a security installation, or a security zone. And they said they won't agree because that is where they want to go. That is a difficulty, is it not?
First and foremost, the right to demonstrate is not determined by the police. The right to demonstrate is not determined by anybody. It is already determined by the Constitution of Ghana, as Doctor indicated in Article 21, Clause 1D. That every citizen has the right to express his conviction. I mean, I'm saying this among others, has the right to express his conviction on any issue, to protest on any issue, using demonstration, even as the first means. I've heard people who say that no, you should pursue other channels. If I can decide that I don't want to pursue any channel, I want to use demonstration as a means of making my case known and perhaps getting a response appropriately to that case. Article 21 is very clear. So that right to demonstrate is not determined by the police. Let's also get something very clear. The Public Order Act, as you have just ruled, it is not for the police to give permission to any citizen who wants to demonstrate, as long as the demonstration falls within the ambit of law. The Public Order Act simply says that you notify the police. And then the reason why you would have to sit with the police, as you said, it is not only to ensure that the public order, the peace and safety and movement of others are not, infringed upon, but also to provide security for those of you who want to engage on the demonstration. But if you think that your security is enough to be provided, the police can still say, okay, we want to monitor, we want to follow you so that we can protect you. Now, if you listen to the police's argument, they claimed that they sought an injunction. As to whether the injunction was granted or not, we still do not know. Seeking an injunction is one thing, and getting the injunction granted is another. Doctor, it is surprising that you said, okay, in courts you may not wake up a judge to. In this country, the same MPP, they were forcing the Supreme Court to sit on Sunday. You remember 2008, the time? They were doing that. So very ridiculous things happen under when the MPP is seeking any...
The Chief Justice has the powers to issue a warrant, and once the warrant is issued that, okay, this is a holiday or this is a weekend, you should sit, that should happen. Okay. So it is not totally out of place for the court to sit on a holiday or a weekend or something. Once the Chief Justice issues a warrant, that is...
By that logic, it is not also out of place to sit in the night.
That is exactly so. So
but it is only worrying because one expects that what would be the exigence of a matter such that you would want to sit on Sunday, more so you would want to sit in the night. And I'm just giving that example to say that certain things happen. But let's come to the demonstration. This is not the first time citizens of this country have demonstrated wanting to take the demonstration to the seat of government under the NDC, including this incompetent Minister for Finance. They picketed at the Flagstaff House.
Was it the Flagstaff House or they were at Afrikiko?
But why? People are not even allowed to go beyond 37. What's the difference between Afrikiko and Flagstaff House?
But there are two different places.
I said, what's the difference between Afrikiko and Flagstaff House?
Because there are two different places.
But people are not even allowed to go beyond 37. That tells you the classical difference between the NDC and the MPP. Clearly, everything that happened yesterday, the brute force, the day before yesterday, the brute force used against citizens who think that the corruption, the thievery, the maladministration perpetrated by President Nana Addo, Dr. Bawumia, and the entirety of their corrupt appointees is getting out of hand. Everything that happened, it is perpetrated not just by the police, but by the government. And I'll read to you what Walker wrote on his page. And just... I'll read to you what he wrote on his...
Who is he? We need to know who is he. I mean, for the purposes of everybody listening.
Is he a speaker or a communicator of the...
Who are those organizing the demonstration?
Okay, so he's an organizer of the demonstration.
The last time I checked, you are not the host of the program.
No,
so allow him.
No worries.
You know, he took offense. He took offense when I was...
I think it was a friendly one.
It wasn't offensive.
He took offense when I was even wishing him.
I'm just bringing it to the fore.
It's a friendly matter. So Walker is one of the demonstrators, the organizers. Okay, back up from our
yes.
Okay.
Please, if
I read, you would do. It doesn't tell me whether Jonas swallowed the fish or the fish swallowed Jonas.
No, but I think it's a good point.
So the point, what he said, unknown to the government, we have recordings. Whilst I was in the United Kingdom, the National Security Minister, Ken Depa, called and invited me for a sit-down. The government offered to pay for my flight for a meeting in Ghana. This was something that was never disclosed to the public. But we met at a safe house for us to stop our activism. We were offered not only money, but appointment, with the condition that we cease our activities and prevent citizens from taking to the street. Now, this is something that purportedly written by him. And I'm using the word purportedly.
But you know there's a response to this too.
I'm saying that I'm written that purportedly written because in this age and time anything can happen. Granted, and I'm just making this caveat, Granted that this statement is true, that for me is worrying to our democracy. It is extremely worrying to our democracy. It is extremely worrying to the safety and peace of this country. Now, the point that we all ought to make strongly is that don't citizens have the right to demonstrate? Did the gentlemen and women who intended to participate in this demonstration, did they indicate to the police or any other person that they had any ill motive of wanting to attack the seat of president? Now, why is it that in 2016, when this thing happened, they were allowed freely? They did that, and I guess they even took Wachi at the place and said all manner of things, including leading members of the MPP today. There can't be anybody who is more powerful in the MPP than the Minister for Finance. Participated in the demonstration. Nobody prevented them to do so. President Nana Addo, his prominence in Ghanaian politics, one of the contributory factors is he had the unrelenting desire to participate in demonstration. Many of us got to know Nana Addo through demonstration. Many of us got to hear about Nana Addo through demonstration. It's one of the contributory factors, and you can laugh over it. Maybe perhaps if you didn't know Kume Preku, I witnessed it. People even lost their lives. And Kume Preku did not take place only in Accra, the entire country. So if you have been a beneficiary of demonstration, why would we seek to prevent others from going through that same route? And what the police did for me was embarrassing globally. I mean, they deal with other international organizations, institutions that have a responsibility of ensuring that our democracy, particularly in Africa, is enhanced. I believe that they would have had calls, they would have had some, conversations with their colleague, other institutions elsewhere, what is happening in Ghana. The democracy of Ghana is being used as to showcase the entire global community how successful this Western type of democracy can be successful. What did they intend to do? What could they have done if the police had allowed them to do so? What would have happened? And today they tell us that it's a security installation. Every single space in this country is a space that can be used for protest. Every single space, except perhaps people's bedrooms. Don't people drive past the Flagstaff House? Couldn't the police even allow their leadership, even if you didn't want them to get there, you could have permitted the leadership, because naturally demonstrators would certainly submit a petition. Even if you didn't want them to do that, you could have allowed the leadership, give them the opportunity to come and present the petition. You said no. People were beaten to pulp. Journalists were beaten to pulp. So who says anything? And I think that for me, it is just extremely worrying as a lover of democracy and as someone who thinks that collectively...
Just to be clear, there's been no reported case of assault as far as the demonstration is concerned.
People were beaten. I watched, in fact, and if I can pull that video, a journalist who was manhandled.
But being manhandled is not necessarily being beaten.
How do they manhandle someone?
No, but being manhandled...
I said, how do they, if I give you a slap, is that not manhandled? That can be beaten?
Yes, but
I'm coming.
Manhandle could be wider than
it doesn't
beaten.
Still matter. It will even be worse. It could even be worse.
No, but now you're making a specific point that they were beaten. And I'm saying that as far as the records
didn't we have reports of journalists beaten by media houses? If you didn't report that, that is not to say that it didn't happen. And this is not the first time. A journalist at multimedia is still suffering.
From this?
From another discharging his responsibility when similar demonstration or picketing was done at the police headquarters. This is not the first time that we are experiencing this. So I am saying that the right to demonstrate is not a right that is granted to anybody by anybody in this country, not even the president. Okay, so, it is a right that is enjoined to citizens by the Constitution of Ghana.
On the screen is what actually transpired. Some journalists being manhandled, as it were. Bridget Otu of Metro TV.
So if you are dragging someone's head, is that not even, in fact, it's even worse. So you agree with me? So I'm saying that
I agree, manhandled, yes, but beat, I mean, beat is quite specific.
Even your station, except that you are telling me that it was only your station that was there. And therefore,
we don't have to split hairs.
No, we have, because if you, no, we have. We have because what you seek to do is to challenge the position I have taken. You can say that as far as we covered the story.
Exactly.
We
But
don't say
I speak for myself.
But I am telling that
I speak for myself. There is
I
communication.
never said.
I speak for us.
I never said.
You know, or I communicate for us. I don't know which is right.
I never said your station.
Yes.
By the way, it's even absolutely illogical.
But I'm saying that.
I never said your station reported that someone was beaten. I never said that.
I'm saying that I can only speak to what we have covered or we have seen.
But I haven't said that someone was beaten reported by your state TV
I'm saying
station.
that I cannot vouch for the beating. So I can vouch for the man.
That point is moot. I never said that your station reported that someone was beaten.
And I'm saying that, you know, I have a duty also to guide the discussion. And you said beat, and I'm saying as far as I know, I did not see beating.
I said they have been reported cases of people beaten. You can say that, yes, we didn't see that. But for you to say that people were not beaten, they were manhandled, except that you have a motive that I do not know. So I need to seek to question why that intervention, because it's needless.
I'm not sure about where you are going with this. But
no, you should be sure.
No, but me having a motive, I think that
I don't get the point.
No, I think that's below the belt.
No,
but just make your point.
I said, I don't know. I haven't said you are. You seem not to be getting me.
I think it's needless even to say that you don't know.
It's needless for that intervention. The intervention you made.
But I'll continue to make the intervention when I give.
Well, if they are needed.
If I deem it.
But if I deem that they are needless, I'll point them out.
No problem.
So
I'll bring them
the point I'm simply making is that people have the right to demonstrate. The right to demonstrate by any citizen in this country is not granted by anybody. It is granted by the Constitution of Ghana. And everybody in this country must live his life and conduct his activities or her activities in accordance with the laws of Ghana. And the mother law of this country is the Constitution. So when people are indeed engaged in exercising their right, as enjoined in Article 21, Clause 1D of the 1992 Constitution, you don't deny them that right. You don't. And the argument that is being made, one, we applied for an injunction. We do not know whether the injunction was granted by any court in this country or not. And another breath, they say that no, it is a security installation. How does someone driving or walking past the Flagstaff House becomes a security installation? The people didn't say that we are going to demonstrate, enter into Flagstaff House, just like they did in 2016, which was celebrated.
But they said they were going to occupy the Jubilee House.
Those who occupied the Jubilee House, did they enter the Jubilee House? Literally means they didn't just say that we are going to enter into the Jubilee House and enter into the the office of the president. When Ken Ufuriata and co, the one who has messed up the economy, for which reason? These people are now demonstrating. When they occupied the Jubilee House, they didn't enter into the Jubilee House. So what they did is precisely the same thing this group of young men and women were also seeking to do.
Very well. I have Bernard Mona on the line. Bernard Mona is an associate of the Democracy House.
I don't know. No, I don't.
Well, I don't. Yeah, I don't have him now. But I have Michael Donina, who is executive director of the Center for Public Opinion and Awareness. Michael, welcome to the program. You run the Center for Public Opinion and Awareness. What's your view on what has been happening in the last 2-3 days? Is it your view that public opinion on matters is being suppressed, or you think that the demonstrators took this a bit too far? Hello, Michael. So kindly unmute your microphone and speak to us.
Yeah, thank you very much, and I send my greetings to all the other panelists in the studio. I think that I really want to make 4 key points. The happenings for the past 2 days is not something that we've never seen before, and it's very important that we have these discussions, because it means that people are really keeping watch of our democratic processes and how it is growing. But I just need to make these points. And my brother, Honorable Mutala, was talking about the rights of the citizens to be able to demonstrate. I don't think that the actions of the police was to deny the citizens the right to demonstrate. But you know, the police, as the managers of our security and safety, is adorned with so much privileges, such that sometimes it tends to abuse it. It tends to abuse that privilege, you know. And some of these demonstrations they are organized to achieve a particular cause and a particular purpose. So the nature and the dynamics of it really determines how impactful it will be. So when the police decides to hear and wants to be able to direct the demonstrators as to what they should do, it makes it look like they want to really temper down the effect that the organizers are trying to achieve. So indirectly, they would use their police power to be able to subvert the intention and the purpose of the demonstration so as to minimize its impact. We should note that. So from the injunction and everything that the police did, they tried to redirect the dynamics, the focus of the whole demonstration, but I don't think they were trying to cut off the citizens from demonstrating. So we should actually note that. The second issue that I wanted to bring to our attention is that, you see, our democratic development, our democratic processes is not just about elections. You know, Ghana is touted that with some amount of democratic credentials, and it's because we've had successive elections and handing over power. So it means that we are really strong democratically. But you see, there are other events that are part of our democratic processes. In fact, denying a citizen the opportunity or the right to demonstrate, it's almost similar to denying someone the right to vote. It's just the same, in the same category, because they are all democratic events or democratic activities that must be undertaken, that the citizens have a right to. There's a third thing that I wanted to also state, because it looks like over the years, the police and the ruling class, or maybe let's say the government, has not made reasonable accommodation for some of these demonstrations. They have failed to recognize that these demonstrations are bound to happen. So, and they are also part of our democratic processes. And once we've chosen the path of democracy, definitely these events will definitely occur. So the police must make reasonable accommodations towards these events. For the Flagstaff House, I am surprised that by now the police have not made reasonable accommodation for such occurrences, knowing very well that the Parliament of Ghana, the Flagstaff House are installations that when citizens are upheaved, these are the places they charge towards, these are the places they demonstrate. So at least within the precincts of the Flagstaff House, there should be a demarcated place where people who want to come and demonstrate are a limit to which they are allowed to go to or stand, so that the Flagstaff House can be visible in their sight, and the president, even if he's in the building, will be able to see those demonstrators. The effect is that if you are demonstrating and the person you are trying to demonstrate to is not seeing what you're doing, then your effort is fruitless. So I think that the police should begin to realize that they need to make reasonable accommodations for these demonstrations. And then secondly, they need to issue guidelines that are standing guidelines towards these demonstrations, so that the organizers will already know what is supposed to be done, where they are supposed to go to, like the limits that they are allowed. These things don't have to be determined on the need basis or in the middle of the whole situation, because if it happens that way, it can be manipulated to the benefit of whoever. And the fourth point that I wanted to make with this issue is that the police over the years, and looking at how often when people want to demonstrate, they always want to subvert it or divert it or try to. It obviously looks like they are trying to prevent the citizens from demonstrating, and it's becoming like they are trying to they protect the political class more than the citizenry. When unfortunately it is the citizens that establish the political class, and the police themselves are funded by the taxes of the citizens. So it's important that we look at these issues that I've raised and be able to take it from there and look at how we can be able to in future address some of these occurrences when they happen. This is what I have to say for now.
Very well. So for clarity, you don't think that the action of the police amounted to, preventing the demonstration? Is that correct?
No, I am saying that the police is only abusing a privilege that they have. They are only abusing it because they are failing to recognize that these citizens have a right And you know, when it comes to elections, they are very eager to go and protect the ballot box from miscreants and criminals from carrying the ballot box away. Now, preventing these citizens from demonstrating is similar to just carrying that ballot box, their votes, away, you know. So in this particular case, the police is only using that privilege that it is clothed with to perpetrate this particular, I would not say crime or incident, but I'd like to perpetrate this against the citizens whom they are supposed to protect, whose interest they are supposed to stand with. So I definitely condemn any actions of the police in trying to kind of like meddle or into these issues and these demonstrations. But we shouldn't forget that, you see, some of these things that we are seeing are only the fruits of the problem. The problem is that our police system is very political, because if you look at the scenario, the head of the police, the Ghana Police Service, the Ghana Police Service Council is the vice president, the sitting vice president. So you see, when we have such an arrangement, it raises some level of, I would not say conflict of interest, but it raises some questions whether the police will be able to do its job equitably, fairly, and is able to treat both the citizens, those who are being ruled, the ruling class, and those who are being ruled equally. So I'm not very quick to condemn that what the police. I'm not trying to say that what the police did is right or is usual. I'm only trying to explain that it is exploiting certain privileges that it is adorned with to be able to gag these citizens from demonstrating. And I've also cited the circumstances under which this is happening and why this is happening. And I think that I'm only contributing to this for you to take it off in your discussion. I'll probably come on with other observations.
Great points. Bernard Mona was at the demonstration, or was at the police station on that day. He was not really a member of, he didn't really go there to demonstrate, but he got involved at some point. He joined us on the line. Bernard, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Yes. So, I mean, you were there. You saw what happened, really. Take us through what you saw or why you went there, because we understand you went to engage some of the police officers to release some of the people. I didn't know you had become a peace broker and all of that. But, you know, in a few minutes, what really did you go there to do? What did you see, and what do you make of what you saw?
You saw the little militant come to want to check what is going on. I managed to just push him away. First and foremost, the title of the protestation is not Occupy Jubilee House. It's Occupy Jubilee House. You may decide that Jubilee represents Jubilee House, but it's Jubilee House, and it should be appropriately captioned. Those who understand Ghana, they know the meaning of Julo and Jubilee. The second point that I want to establish is that on the first day of the protest, which was on Thursday, the police behaved in such a reckless, unlawful, and violent manner. This was on the 21st of September. And 21st September signifies the founding of our nation. It signifies the birth of our nation, because Kwame Nkrumah's birthday has been taken to the birth of the nation Ghana. And so most of us had gone to the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park, and I was probably one of the first persons to have passed through the site of the protest, that is the Jubilee House vicinity. And I called Comrade Bakavomawo to inform him that the security was massing up, and I was certain that they would swoop on protesters. He assured me that swooping or no swooping, they will go there. And true to our prediction, the police acted in the illegal manner that they did. Subsequently, in the evening, I got a gracious call from the Inspector General of Police telling us that he and his attention has been drawn to what has happened and that a number of us were arrested. And so he has instructed that they should be released. So I set off immediately from my location to go to the railway police station where only Baka Boma was kept. And when I got there, the other lawyers led by Enosa Fuseni, Justice Ram, Michael Ziga, they had also started the process of going around the other police stations to secure the release. The final place we got the release was near Citi FM, the Adabraka police station, where Baka Boma himself had to move from the railway station to be going there whilst I went to sign the bail conditions for all those who were incarcerated or arrested. Yesterday, the Inspector General of Police had called for a meeting, and I was detailed alongside 2 other members. In fact, we were in total 5 that met with the Inspector General of Police and his team. And we could reason that the Inspector General of Police was thinking about peace. All the time he was thinking about the peace of our nation, safeguarding our democracy and all that. But it was evident that the issue of justice to the people of Ghana was not a preoccupation of the police. All that they are thinking is about peace. But when injustice is perpetuating, no one can expect that peace can survive. We sit in this country, and ministers that are appointed, in fact, government officials that are appointed to safeguard the assets of state, are selling those assets to themselves. Go to La Palm Royal Beach, and it's been sold by an appointee, or sold to an appointee of President Akufo-Addo. Go to Bujua Beach, it's been sold to an appointee of Akufo-Addo. Go to Elmina Beach, it's been sold to an appointee of Akufo-Addo. When these things are happening, these persons are elected, they are put in place to safeguard. If you cannot add onto the assets of our nation, don't come and take the little that you have come to meet. What are you leaving for the future generations and the upcoming generations? We sit in this country. Everything is gone wayward. Look, where we started the protestation, if you go there, there is a police barracks that used to be there, the DVLA police station barracks. It has been sold to private sector, and the police officers have been yanked all the way to Kwabenya. When you talk, then they say they give them better accommodation. Does the better accommodation come with better income? Because somebody who is working at DVLA police station, if he has to go to headquarters police station, he doesn't spend that much to go there. If you take the person to Kwabenya, you have increased the cost of transportation and the cost of bedding for the police officers. They are not happy. They, because they are in uniform, may not be able to come and protest. When we are protesting for the general well-being and the safeguarding of our nation, then you have a police come and tell us they have earmarked some places to be security zone. As if that road, and yesterday we asked the IGP, the Jubilee house, every day, don't you see the huge number of traffic, the flow of traffic? Don't you see it there? Don't you see it from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. or sometimes 10 p.m. that there is heavy traffic?
All right, Bernard, so, can you hold it there for me? I'll take a short break, okay? I'll come back and you will continue your points, okay? This is the big issue on 97.3 Citi FM. We'll be right back, and Bernard Mona will continue his point. Don't go away. You're welcome back to the big issue. Very big welcome to our TV viewers. This morning we're looking at 2 issues. The first one, we're dealing with the demonstration of the last few days where the police arrested some 49 persons, subsequently releasing them. The talk is being that the police appears to be abusing the rights and the rights they have under law. The citizens have a right to protest. That is guaranteed under Article 21(1)(d). And so why should the police seek to crack down on Ghanaians who are just protesting what they think is a hardship in the country, what they think is not working well in the country? It is a constitutionally guaranteed right, and nobody should stand in the way of citizens. That is a discussion that we are on. Did the police go a little too far? What should the protesters have done? Could they have engaged the police better to change their routes? The police wanted them to do so. The police filed an application to prohibit or injunct the process. That application, the police see as an order, and so the mere fact of the demonstrators going ahead with their march in the mind of the police, constituted disregard for an order of the court. That is a major, sticky point in all of this. It must be clear, as far as we know, that we've not seen an order of the court, properly so-called. What we have heard is that they filed a process, and whether that process, operates as a stay or not, is that for the police to tell, or it is for the court to determine? That is a matter that we are trying to deal with. We also look at the matter of the Electoral Commission. They came out this week to explain a few things in respect of the limited voters registration that is ongoing. The NDC and a few political parties have raised a lot of issues about the process. They allege that the process seeks to suppress votes because it is disincentive. It's a disincentive, the manner the EC is going about it. People having to travel several kilometers to the EC's office where there are a lot of people waiting to be registered. All of that, people think, will not help people to register and partake in the democratic process. So this is our discussion. So Bernard Mona, he's been speaking to us. He is an activist by name, and sometimes I struggle to actually describe who he is. He's an activist by nature, a politician, and a citizen of Ghana. He was at the police station, a number of them, to help secure the release of some of the demonstrators who were arrested. And he was making the point about earmarking some places as security zones. Bernard, you may proceed.
So certainly we don't agree that any place is a security zone. In fact, if a place is a security zone, it is the safest place to be. What it means is that the place is a fortified area. The security are in total control of the area, and they should be in a position to ensure the protection of life and property. So if, for instance, the Jubilee House area is seen as a security zone, what it means is that there is proper surveillance around that area, right? What it means is that at the least disturbance, the security is able to run in and to do what they have to do. Such a place is the easiest for the police to regulate and to direct traffic. In fact, what do the police normally do when people go out to protest? They are virtually traffic conductors, because you shepherd the demonstrators. And probably in an event that there is a spillover, you are able to regulate that the demonstration does not go contrary to what had been planned. That is all the police is to come and do. So doing your traffic duties among demonstrators also now constitute a security threat. Certainly that cannot constitute security threat. I have been to the United States. Within the White House, people are able to move towards the White House. You know that. So when the Ghana police come and tell you this, it doesn't sit well. And I'm happy that you put out clearly that the police application seeking an injunction is not the same thing as an injunction. So if you are seeking an application and the police thought that they had to use the court to fight their case for them or to make the case for them, and the courts are yet to make a determination, if the police think that, no, you are not respecting the orders of the court has not sanctioned the police to come and brutalize or to malhandle people. It did not authorize the police to come and disrupt the event if the police actually want to be lawful. So in such instances, the police need to go back to the court and say that despite that this order is before you, or you've made this order, the persons have gone, and you have two options: seeking the court to go and disrupt or to disorganize the event, or asking the court to contempt the persons or organizers. The police did not and decided to take the law into their own hands. Such is unlawfulness. It is not the people who have notified you in accordance with the Public Order Act from the 1st of September. More than 21 days, you cannot come and tell us that that is not sufficient time for you to have. If you wanted to go to court, probably you would have gone to court earlier, because you know that definitely the people will not change their route. But I need to commend the police for yesterday's professionalism. The IGP, and in particular, the two IC, that is, I think, Christian Yogunu, who went and led the charge and they stood there until the protesters themselves decided to leave. If the police conducted themselves very well on the 21st, I'm not sure that would have been talking the way we are talking. People's right, and particularly so when you know that Article 21 is a fundamental human right. Fundamental human rights cannot be compromised under any banner of threat, intimidation, or brutalities from any quarters.
Very well. So that's Bernard Mona. So let me come to you now, Inusa Issa Fuseni, former member of parliament for Okankwe North. Yeah, so, I mean, a lot has been said about the march, but to be clear, do you identify with the concerns of this group, their right to demonstrate and the issues they raised? And put that in context for me with how the police, acted on the first day.
Salam, finally I get a take on the show. I want to say a good morning to you and a good morning to my co-panelists, particularly this man sitting on my immediate right.
Your colleague, from your MP colleague.
No, I don't know because
okay, no.
He's my slave.
Really?
Let's move on. I want to say a good morning to the good people of Okankwe North. Also to the family of the late Ochema Boaji. We just heard this morning that
yes. I think we just heard the unfortunate
very
news
sad situation.
That the former member of parliament for Bantama, Ochema Boaji,
I have known him since our university days.
Condolences with the family.
I've known him since our university days in the School of Admin, now the business school, until we came to Parliament together, and we worked quite closely on the Finance Committee of Parliament. And it's such a sad thing to hear. I mean, may his soul rest in peace. Salam, the matter of the Democracy Hub and their intended action and what we saw on Thursday. A lot has been said about the position of the Constitution, which actually guarantees every citizen the right to demonstrate. And so whatever happens with the arrangements that you put in with the police per the requirements of the Public Order Act, I mean, whatever it's in there cannot be higher than what is contained in the Constitution. Having been a very active participant of demonstrations in this country, in fact, I participated in the famous Kumipreko. I have participated in very famous demonstrations in this country, right through our days in Legon, right through Let My Vote Count. I was there. And so I would defend the right of every Ghanaian at every point in time to be able to demonstrate. I'll go beyond that to say that we also have to do it within the confines. Because, look, you have the right to demonstrate. Similarly, there is this adage, your rights end where mine starts. So it is very important that within the confines, within the framework of the Public Order Act, you notify the police. You notify the police to ensure that the rights of others. I tell you what happened during Kumipreko. There were incidences, and a young man like Jerry Ahono Honga, he lost his life. He lost his life because somebody has decided that on the day of Kumipreko, they were also going to have a counter demonstration. That's what happened at Kumipreko. They had a counter demonstration. So it is in the right of the gatekeepers, the police service, to ensure that on the day that Fuseni and his people have decided that they are going to demonstrate on this particular issue, if anyone else comes to say, I want to do a counter demonstration, it is just right that there is engagement.
So that's why it's important to give the notice.
It is important to give the notice, and the police has a right to engage the people. You realize that what happened on Thursday, there were chronology of events that led to what happened on Thursday. They had been back and forth. I had seen one of the letters written by the Democracy Hub to the police saying that they had even revised their routes. It meant that there had been consultation, there had been engagement up until Thursday. And the police will only have to go to court at the very final. Maybe it is the last option for the police. when there is some disagreement that both parties have taken entrenched positions. It is the only way that the police could resolve it is to resort to the courts, which we all of us have agreed. As a last resort, if we engage over a period and we are unable to come to a disagreement, then let's go to the courts. Let the court speak. In the correspondence of the leaders of the Democracy Hub to the police, I gather that they had accepted, or they had stated within, and I have seen the correspondence. I mean, it's all over social media, that the police contacted them through their lawyers at Tubuga and Associates, and the police had gone to court. Whether it's been granted or not, they had gone on to serve this on their lawyers. And so they had expected that on Thursday, probably nothing was going to happen. But to err on the side of caution, the police were ready. Look, me, Husseini, I will protect the right of every Ghanaian to demonstrate. But I'll go beyond that and say that let's do it within the confines of the law. Your rights end where mine begin. The issue of Jubilee House, and for me, I don't know. But
so what rights were you, so what were the police trying to do then? I mean...
Like I'm saying, it is the duty of the police to ensure that we don't have what happened in 1995,
But so, in that 1995 case, the issue about notice perhaps didn't come up.
Yeah.
If the other group had notified the police would have told them that, no, you can't use this route today because some other group is using that side.
It.
But we don't have a situation like this. Notice was given. The police never said that another group had given us prior notice.
Notice was given.
The police just said simply change the route because
notice was given.
We don't think
it's not the first time that a group have decided to go on a demonstration and the police have tried to alter their route or even change where they want to.
What was the police afraid of? What was the police trying to protect? The Jubilee House? Like, people will go there, I mean...
Unlike Bernard Mona, who thinks that's the
safest place
the safest place to be. General, good morning. Good morning to you again. He thinks that a security installation is the safest place to go and demonstrate. I am of a contrary view, because look, when I am doing something, when I'm interacting with you, one-on-one, it's a different level. When you have people mass up, all sort of elements, even most of the times, the leaders of these demonstrations are unable to have absolute control over people who participate in this. You have decided to congregate at now Circle Dubai, formerly Nkrumah Circle, which used to be the hub or Brasport. All sort of peoples are moving in from across the country. You don't know what somebody is bringing along. You have absolutely no control over it. Mass group moving into an installation like a seat of our presidency, and you think that it should be allowed? If this should be happening in the White House, for you to get close, I'm sure that you would have gone through some training process.
Precedent. This is not the first time people have demonstrated to the seat of government. You know, in the famous Occupy Ghana.
I can't recollect anybody demonstrating and getting free access to the seat.
No, free access. No, the Occupy Ghana guys wanted to go to the
I grew up in Accra, and
but they were told that they could only be at Afrikiko.
There were certain areas in Accra that when you were even driving through, you had to be alert. That's the Accra in which I grew up in. I really can't see us saying that people should have a thoroughfare to the seat of. Why can't any Ghanaian just get up when the person is not demonstrating and walk straight into the office?
So what would have stopped the police from saying that, okay, you cannot have access to the Jubilee House as you would want? Perhaps you could be at Afrikiko.
In time past, we have seen that.
You could be at Christ the King. You could be somewhere.
In time past, we have seen that. But I'm saying that when the police recommends and says, well,
and the police says change your route entirely. Don't go to Independence Square. Go to
Independence Square. I mean, you see, all of these things are not static. The times we find ourselves in all do inform And you see, let's not just sit on this platform. There are people in charge of our security. They have intelligence, much more than we do.
That if these guys were
like the issue, the leader, the Oliver is talking about, his engagement with national security and all of that. People engage with national security to all sort of levels, and I tell you, if people come out to divulge what had been discussed, I mean, it just leaves us very open. If the national security apparatus engages you for a particular issue and all of that, and you come up to do, I mean, this bribery thing and all of that, it's another thing, and I'm sure.
So the national security
I'm sure they have given a statement, and they have challenged him. You are saying you have recordings. Play if they you have no idea who they engage. You have no idea who the national security apparatus engages at any point in time. Ordinary people living amongst us who are actors within their setup, and that is to be expected. Oh, you see, when you were speaking,
go ahead and communicate with me.
I am communicating to you. I'm not speaking.
I don't speak.
I was here when you had all you, whether I'm a suspect or not. There are people living with us who are integral in the national security setup. There's a challenge he's been throwing to Oliver, and I would have expected that by now he would have released whatever recordings he has, for us to know where they met, what discussions were made, what offers were made to him, and all of that. I am very interested to do it. But you see, like I mentioned earlier, for the police service to have gone to court meant that there was a breakdown in negotiations, or there was some disagreement, or there were certain points that could not be agreed. And so they resorted to go to court. And why did they go to court? And the people who were rounded up, they said what? Unlawful assembly and violation of the Public Order Act. We have heard people say whether they were journalists, whether people were manhandled, and all of that.
There are reasons I find quite, difficult to associate with. Violation of the Public Order Act. Which part of the Public Order Act did they violate?
That is another level. I mean, you're a lawyer. I'm
sure.
So
I wonder which part of the Public Order Act.
The Public Order Act requires that you notify the police. It's just not a case where. So I write to the police, and once I submit to the police, there has to be some engagement.
So I think we have the Public Order Act. Daniel, if you could just show that, so we deal with this once and for all. So the Public Order Act, Section 1 of the Act says that any person who desires to hold any special event, and demonstration is a special event within the meaning of this act.
Include outdoors, right?
Within I can give you a definition of special event when we're done. The meaning of this act: in any public place shall notify the police of his intention not less than 5 days before the date of the special event. 2, subsection 2, the notification shall be in writing and signed by or on behalf of the organizers of the special event, and shall specify the place and hour of the special event, which they did, the nature of the special event, which they did, the time of commencement, which they did, the proposed route and destination, if any, which they did, and the proposed time of closure of the event, which I think they did. So the notification shall be submitted to a police officer not below the rank of Assistant Superintendent of Police or other police officer responsible for the nearest police station to the location of the proposed special event. Where the police officer notified of the special event under subsection 1 has reasonable grounds to believe that the special event, if held, may lead to violence or endanger public defense, public order, public safety, public health, or the running of essential services, or violate the rights and freedoms of other persons, he may request the organizers to postpone the special event to any other date or to relocate the special event. An organizer requested under subsection 4 to postpone or relocate the holding of a special event shall within 48 hours of the request notify the police officer in writing of his willingness to comply. Where the organizers refuse to comply with the request under subsection 4 or fail to notify the police officer in accordance with subsection 5, that's a 48-hour thing, the police officer may apply to any judge or a chairman of a tribunal for an order to prohibit the holding of the special event on the proposed date or at the proposed location. The judge or chairman may make such order as he considers to be reasonably required in the interest of defense, public order, safety, public health, the running of essential service, or to provide or to prevent violation of the rights and freedoms of others. So that is what the public order says. Section 2 talks about the control of the routes and the crowd. Let me just talk about a few of them. Read a few portions of it. So it shall be the responsibility of every police officer to take all such steps as are reasonably necessary in any public place, to assist in the proper conduct of any special event by directing the routes or routes of such event to prevent obstruction of pedestrian or vehicular traffic. B, to disperse the crowds at any special event where he has reasonable grounds to believe that a breach of the peace is likely to occur, or if any breach of the peace has occurred or is occurring, in order to prevent violence, restore order, and preserve peace. 2, the police officer in charge of the area of the special event may cause to be closed such streets or parts thereof to pedestrian or vehicular traffic, or both, and may cause to be erected such barriers that may be necessary to prevent or to preserve public order. So the law is clear on what the people must do. They are just to notify the police, and the police, upon their assessment, may make suggestions to them as to relocate the event, change the date, or change the route. You know, this is where we are. And the police did so. The guys notified them in fulfillment of what they must do. The police also did what the law said they should do. They couldn't agree. They went to court. Now the police, they go to court, and then now police are acting based on the process they have filed in court. Let me clarify something as well. In the practice or the law of injunctions, etc., you filed the application. Okay, once you file the application, it used to be, we still have two schools of thought really, but the dominant view now is that once you file the application, that application operates as a stay. So you stay the event or you stay the action.
Thank you.
However, whatever happens, the consequence of the person not staying the event, leave it to the court. Leave the court to deal with that person. That is where you can go to court and say, I filed this to injunct or prohibit this. The person failed. You quote the relevant law, ex parte, before, etc., to support it. So I am citing him for contempt. So it is the court that will determine what happens to the person, and not the police. So that is where the difficulty is.
In reality, you see, I'm really happy that you took time to take our listeners and viewers through this whole process, and I'm sure people appreciate the process is more than when the show began. The police did what they had to do. The organizers had to do. That's why I keep saying that there were chronology of events, including correspondence from the between the organizers and the police service. Some of which I watch on social media. We have all seen that.
So just to add, so you know, recently there was an incident with the EC or issue with the EC. The NDC and co went to court, filed a process, and filed an injunction. So they were actually expecting the Electoral Commission to stay the registration, but they went ahead. I'm not sure the NDC.
Let's stay within the confines. Let's stay within the confines.
I'm just drawing the parallel.
I know, like you said, two school of thought.
But
whether or not when you have filed, then you injunct. I mean, effectively, you have injuncted the other side. But you see, in cases of security matters, are you going to wait until something happens and then you cite somebody for contempt of court? We are talking about the seat of the president, and I've stated here, I have been on demonstrations where the organizers have called for people not to do certain things, but and then people start throwing water. They are thinking throwing water, it's not something so offensive. I've been in crowds where people have shown weapons that they were not supposed to have brought it there. What happens? Are we saying that the police should have sat aloof, watched, or taken the risk of people who were participating in this process for something to happen, and then we go back to injunct them? Why can't any Ghanaian just get up and then walk to where the president works? There's a reason for that. And so, rather than Bernard Bona, who thinks it's the safest place to go, I'm thinking that, look, every time, anywhere, I will support the right of every Ghanaian to be able to voice as guaranteed. Article 21(1)(d). But let's do this within the confines. Where your freedom ends is where mine starts. And the police is the referee. Let us agree that per the Public Order Act, you have your rights. The police also have their rights. And when the police actually injuncts you, we cannot sit aloof and wait for things to happen and then go and file contempt of court.
So that'll be plain.
So this is what is happening. So that is why the police are saying that the people, the 49 or so people who were rounded up for unlawful assembly and for breach of the Public Order Act, that's the reason why they were picked up.
No, but
on the very day.
Okay, so that's the charge, which has to be proven. Okay.
That's the charge.
So they may fail
on the
in
very
court,
day,
they may succeed.
on the very day that these people were rounded up, when they realized that they didn't pose that level of risk, they were all released on bail. Investigations will continue. Right? Investigations will continue. Some of these things, right? We're laughing, but you see, depending on which side of the political divide you belong to at any point in time, we meander through. When you're in opposition, you take this stance. When you're in government, you take this stance. That is a dangerous thing for us. And if we are more committed to developing this democracy that we've all signed up to, we need to be consistent.
So, are you saying that
we need to be consistent?
4 years ago, you would have how many years ago? 6-7 years ago,
yes,
you'd have espoused the same view.
Of course, I'll tell you my rights.
Vote count.
Yes, I was there. I was chased by the police.
And how you guys engaged in a showdown with the police, and people were allegedly whipped, etc. You know, it's the same.
It was also about the route.
Yes.
Where we're going to end up.
But now you're on the side of the police.
I was part of the demonstration.
Yeah, but today you're on the side of the police.
I was not an organizer, but I was part of the demonstration, right? Yes. I was part of the demonstration.
But on that day,
what I'm saying,
on that day, you were not on the side of the police the way you are on the side of the police today.
I am not. I wasn't. I was.
You're on the side of the demonstrators.
I am saying that going forward, let us be consistent with some of these things. And I always say at every opportunity, these state institutions that we keep bastardizing at every opportunity, it is not going to serve us very, very well ultimately. It's something we have to watch it, especially the political actors. Because today you are in opposition, I am not a spokesperson for the police service. No. But today I will support the development of state institutions, including the police service. That is why the reference to the Public Order Act is fair. The police didn't do anything untoward.
I see. Very well. Let me come to him. So I trace this to mistrust, like I said before. How do we resolve this mistrust? So the police says that you cannot use this route for A, B, and C reasons. I'm an organizer of a special event or a demonstration. I will disagree because I think that the police is trying to protect, the establishment or the executive or the top guys in government. And so because of that, and my political views may be at variance, or my objective for organizing the demonstration, obviously at variance with that of the establishment, I would say, no, I don't agree, because I think the police is trying to protect the people. How do we deal with that mistrust? But it shouldn't be a mistrust. We should take them on the basis of it. They know what they are saying. They are professionals. So once they say this route may lead to problems, okay, let's change the route. But we don't have that in our country. And it did not happen today. It's always been the case. How do you deal with that mistrust?
I think the way and you're right, there's that deep mistrust. Anytime I look at trust in institutions that make democracy work and how Ghanaians have answered the question of trust over 9 rounds of the Afrobarometer survey, I always say that we have this deep mistrust of state institutions. It is also exacerbated by the fact that when you disaggregate that data by party affiliation, you tend to see Ghanaians, even though trust level is low, the trust gets slightly better if the party they say they feel close to is in power versus in opposition. And I keep asking myself, why should I trust the court, for example, a lot more when the party I like is in power versus the party I like is in opposition? And how then do you resolve some of these mistrust? I think that the onus is still on the institutions and those who manage these institutions to show a certain level of consistency in the decisions that come out of those institutions around, for example, some of these things like demonstrations. Yesterday on a show that I was on, Lawyer Pencil brought up a term used in political science called democratic temperament. I also think that as our democracy matures, we really need to build that democratic temperament, even for the things that we feel it's an irritation or makes us, uncomfortable, right? If you ever met my mom, I don't think you would have met any more partisan person than my mother, right? And some days when you have conversations with my mom, it's like there's nothing you can say that would make me think beyond the colors of my political party. And those things are part of a democratic dispensation. But for the institutions that are supposed to make the democracy work, the police, the courts, the executive, parliament, media, things like that, you need to develop that temperament. And it's a temperament that requires that, for me, when the state is up against the citizen, even as you try to protect the state, you should defer on the side of the citizen. So if you look at this protest, yes, I agree that the seat of government is a zone that you want to protect, right? I don't think that I should be freely allowed to just walk into the seat of government. Yes, I can, maybe even if I don't have an appointment, even if I show up there, there's a process they have to take me through, right? They have to search me, I have to show an ID, what are you doing here, etc., etc. Otherwise, you just never know. I may look pleasant and nice, but you never know what's going on, in my head. But I think our institutions and our institutional actors must, and I don't know how they'll do it, but there comes a point where they have to develop this temperament that errs more on the side of the citizen than on the side of the state. If I want to protest, right, and the object of my protestation is the seat of government, that I have a particular grievance. You don't tell me I should go to Independence Square. Precisely, right? It defeats the, yes, I can still get my message, but I mean, why Independence Square if there's a direct message I want to send, to the presidency, or if I want to protest against the Bank of Ghana, even if you deem that area to be a security zone, why must I go and stand somewhere else? It defeats the purpose of that object, which means that the reasonable thing to do in developing that democratic temperament and erring on the side of the citizen is to say, okay, let's all agree that, it's the seat of government. You never know what people in the crowd might do. Perhaps instead of getting to the gates of Jubilee House, maybe if you can move 200, 300 meters away from that, the police is there. They would form a barricade. All of those things.
Where demonstrations being redirected to places like the Black Stars, and then you have a top official of the presidency going to meet the demonstrators.
No, but they want, so
this time they want the president.
No, it depends on what.
At a time when the president was somewhere in New York.
But the president, go ahead.
So I don't disagree with that redirection, but I'm just saying that even sometimes the manner in which it occurs, right, may help solidify that trust or further deteriorate that trust. I always say that,
there was a very famous piece by Professor Kwesi Prempeh, and out of that, I've called this idea of the appearance test versus the legal test. We tend to weigh everything against passing a legal test. So the process, the rules, and those are very important, right? I'm a public administrator by training. I would never go against the rules. But sometimes it's even the way things appear that may either, yes, the perceptions are also very important. So when you want to reroute me to a distance further away from the object of my protestation, even if your intentions are honorable and noble, to the ordinary citizen, it may look like, so what is so wrong or unreasonable, even if you can get me within a safe distance, so that you, the police, can, maintain the peace, protect, because you have to protect the office of the presidency, for the sake of national security. All of those reasons are honorable reasons. But can you also weigh that then against what the citizen wants to do? And it takes, it takes both patience and a certain culture of recognizing that you can't always pit, when the state is pitted against the citizen. I think there are times where you want to err on the side of the citizen within the reasonable limits of the law. After all, the things that citizens protest about, when the state listens, it doesn't go to just the benefit of the citizens who are protesting, right? It affects all of us, including the very people who have to maintain the peace and order. And that's why, for me, I keep saying this burden is more on these state actors and these state institutions to develop that temperament and slowly build that culture that says, when the state is pitted against the citizen, in certain situations where it doesn't threaten national security, we would err on the side of the citizen and the rights and freedoms.
But in this case, they think it threatens national security of a sense. That's why they raise the issue about the security zone.
Yes.
I don't know who does the demarcation of, or is demarcation the word? Who designates a place as security zone and all of that? Because you can argue that everywhere is a security zone. Right. I mean, of course, I can understand the reason behind that of the Jubilee House. But yes, I know you have some points to make as a rebuttal. Yes, as a rebuttal. But I want to progress this. You may take a few minutes to do that, though. How do we build that trust? I mean, you're a political actor, and it's happened in the past, it's happening now, it may happen again tomorrow. But I want to make progress as a people. How do we deal with the issue of mistrust between institutions of state and political actors who are on the other side or in opposition? How do we do that?
On this matter, I will make my comments not just as a politician, but a political science student. And Doc used a word which I think that has been the basis of all this mistrust, the democratic temperament. And it's not only limited to the institution, but the political elite. That is where the problem is. When we have state institutions overly politicized, that the leaders of those institutions think that their survival hinges largely on the determination of the political elite or the appointing authority. This is what you have. Just some few weeks ago, you had a senior police officer who appeared before a parliamentary select committee and behaved as if he was addressing MPP party activists. It seems to me that he forgot that he was addressing the entire global community, where he sought to have a problem with the IGP, even meeting opposition leader. Now, assuming that the IGP, even though the IGP said he never met President Man, but assuming the IGP even met the opposition leader for the betterment of safe and security, what is wrong with that? And he had problems with it.
Similar to Kenya meeting Oliver.
Because
of national security.
No, I'm raising that issue.
But I'm not sure you had issue with the meeting. Maybe the content, which national security.
But he read out what Oliver is.
It's a classical case of if a gamma lizard, more people. He prepared for a gamma lizard. Went into an exam, they brought crocodile and says if a gamma lizard. What's the point? You were having a problem.
I'm trying to draw your
attention. I'm saying that it's a case of a Gamaliza paper.
That's your view.
You see,
for me, it is not a Gamaliza.
When I raised the issue of Oliver Walker, I never said he shouldn't meet the national security. Baka. I never said he shouldn't meet the national security. I only made mention, specific, and emphasize on saying the attempted bribe. Which has been
denied. So it's been denied. So we make progress.
Have come out and say,
but he's referring to the comment by the gentleman.
And you have thrown a challenge to him.
Yes, and we have said that has been denied. So the onus goes back to him.
Salom, your station has played a video.
Salom.
Yes, and I'm saying, I'm just addressing the issue.
Your station has played a video of the gentleman alleging that on the National Security.
That's fine. And the National Security Ministry has come to deny that.
You see, when they started the fix it, when they started the fix the country platform, we were all aware that a whole subcommittee
there was a meeting with them.
Yes. And it's public knowledge. What was discussed was public knowledge.
The claim has been rebuffed. If he really has any proof, it is now time for him to bring that proof.
So where relies Honorable...
No, but he's referring to the comments he put on social media.
So holding on to the fact.
But he can't refer to the comments. And when he referred to it, I rightly also pointed out to him that the ministry or the ministry has refuted that. So we make progress.
I guess he is here, but the mind is somewhere. When I raised the issue,
this is not the comment. How can you say I'm here, but my mind? Where's my mind?
You could be thinking of the primaries. How would I know? When I raised that issue, I said that I even.
No, I was enjoying the point you were making on the democratic temperament and all of that.
Yes. And I said, granted that this statement is true. So I can't make such statements.
You're making a good point on the democratic temperament.
I'm just saying that it has to do with the over-politicization. And I made reference to something that happened. A senior police officer, not just a constable, a senior police officer having problem with the IGP, allegedly meeting the leader of the largest opposition party. Now, assuming that he even met President Mahama, on the basis of ensuring that there is security, peace in this country. What is wrong with that? But that becomes an issue. And that is why I said it's the over-politicization, and it is because our institutions are not that independent. The extent to which they know that it doesn't matter the political authority. Once you are appointed as IGP, you then remove the gown of that political authority appointing you and wear the gown of an independent state institution. You remember when Obama addressed Parliament? He said, look, Africa doesn't need strong leaders. The Africa needs strong institutions. And the strength of the institutions was not just limited to how strong those and how huge built they are, but the independent mindedness. In this country, drive a Land Cruiser. You can pass several barriers without the police. In fact, they will even salute you.
Yes.
But sit in a saloon. I like driving smaller cars. Now, and I can see the sharp difference. I drove my Land Cruiser, but I'm saying, those who know, this is the first time I have driven Land Cruiser to this program. This is the first time.
To this program or
to this station? Ask him. This is the first time.
Oh, okay.
And you know, even when I have seen him,
I've not seen this one today, but I know he always comes as small.
So look, I'm saying that those who know me, but I'm just saying that. You see, it's just a distraction.
Go ahead.
That is the attempt to criticize even our discussion.
Go ahead.
Even when I give a caveat that I was going to look at it as a podcast. So you see, the mistrust is occasioned by the manipulation that citizens clearly see that this may not be the act of the institution and the leadership of the institution, but strings are pulled somewhere. And that is where the problem is. Look, I'll give an example. I remember when we were in office, a gentleman went to passport office and he wanted to enter. The police officer asked him he shouldn't enter. He called me and explained something to me and quickly gave the phone to the police officer. The police officer took the phone and threw it in a dustbin. So I could hear that something is happening with the phone. So later he called and was angry that he told the police officer that I was the one online and the police officer threw the phone in the dustbin. That was the deputy minister. I said, what the police officer did is right. He's right. In this country, someone engages in a traffic offense and calls someone and says it's honorable. And the timid police officer, without even knowing the person he's talking to, would succumb. That is the problem. Look, all that we are talking about with regards to some of these issues is that if there wasn't attempt by government to deny them the opportunity to embark on this demonstration. He said he has seen a lot of correspondence and a lot of information. From where we also sit.
Attempt by government,
yes,
police or government.
Yes, government. He says that he has seen a lot of correspondence and he knows that there have been a lot of, back and forth, correspondence between the police. Where I also sit, I know a lot of things happen with regards to this demonstration. And why an attempt that are being made to prevent people from embarking on this. And you ask me a simple question. This is not the first time we have had such demonstration in this Fourth Republic. Now, if we want to go strictly by the law, like Doc said, within the legality and the appearance. In this country, on the very day the Supreme Court ruled in the matter of the elections petition after the 2012 elections, the entirety of the MPP gathered at Ubra Sport.
That's so small.
Please, I'm saying that the entire MPP, did they notify the police? No. They gathered there and all manner of dangerous statements were made by leading members of your party. No. Hold on, please. We can look. A gentleman who was driving his car and had President Mahama poster on the car with 2 of his kids. The vehicle was vandalized. 2 years after, the gentleman granted an interview and said the children are still traumatized. What was his crime? So I'm saying that one want to look at it dispassionately, and he said that, we should understand that we should be consistent, and he admitted, and rather strangely, that 8 years ago, this would have been his position. Today, this is his position. Don't rope me into that. I have been very consistent. I have been very consistent on the matter of the right of citizens to demonstrate, whether it is under NDC or it is under MPP. You can Google that. I have been very consistent. In some instances, taking a position against even my own party when we're in office about the right for people to demonstrate. When people are given the right to demonstrate, it enhances even the image of the government. Go and check the rating of Ghana or our performance on human rights issues. All this attempt to prevent people from expressing their democratic rights affects our rating. Is that not the case, Doc? It affects our rating. Now, what would have prevented people from moving towards, assuming that you said, okay, we'll allow you up to Africa like the NDC did? Only the leaders will go and present the petition. Now, if you tell them to go to SECA, what would have been the purpose for the demonstration? The objective is the Flagstaff House. That is the seat of government. Now, if he says that don't demonstrate here, because they will always use security, a security zone, as a justification to deny people the right to express their democratic right. And that is why I said, and I will repeat same, the right to demonstrate is not determined by anybody, not even the president. It is determined by the Constitution of Ghana.
But that's not in contention.
But the actions and inactions state that it must be determined by the police. Even the Public Order Act is not saying that the police will give permission. I don't think there is any word permission for demonstrated in the entire law. The police is just notified so that they can ensure that at least it is done in a peaceful manner. Even the safety of those who are embarking on the demonstration too is enhanced. But you see, the danger, Doc, and I would challenge CBD and institutions such as yours to take this thing up. The idea that someone who goes in for an injunction against a demonstration, that the person for whom the injunction is being sought is not even notified. You don't even know. The police goes there, the court grant the...
Yeah, but that law, I mean, Justice then is a J.
Yes, the ruling. I'm saying that it's a danger, as far as I'm concerned.
So now that has been cleared.
No, I'm saying that it's a danger. You see, if I want to embark
they go ex parte.
Yes.
But now they cannot go ex parte again.
They have to seek
They must be on. You must serve on notice. Of course, you can always go ex parte, but you must give compelling reasons.
Yeah, but who determines how compelling the reasons are?
The judge will determine that.
They do not hear from the other side.
But the judge will determine that. So, for example,
no, I'm saying that if you see, the judge can be very fair if he hears from both parties. But one party comes and make it so compelling, they can even lie. They can even lie because they must present their case that the judge will see that this is compelling enough for the injunction to be granted.
Yeah, but we can't totally rule out ex parte applications.
No, I agree, but what I'm just saying, look, laws are made by us. So if we see some defects in the law, we have a moral duty and a responsibility to see how we can reshape them So I see this to be a defect. And I'm making this statement not because my party is in opposition. Even if NDC is in power, inshallah, after 2024 elections, we definitely will come to power. And now, when all those issues are raised, we need to look at it. Look, our democracy is evolving. Assuming without admitting that this thing happened 80 years ago, must it be repeated? Now, if you tell me, because we are in power now, this would have been my position, that for me is a defeatist position, because it is worrying. It is worrying because at the time when you took that position, you felt that this was not right. 80 years on or 70 years on, you should not be supporting the very position you took against. You should be saying that our democracy is evolving, and therefore we must be looking at ways by which we can change some of this. But to conclude, look, the demonstration was targeted at no less a person or group of persons than the presidency. That was the object of the demonstration. They feel that there's so much corruption. They feel that there's so much thievery. They feel that a lot of things are happening under this government, that they have taken enough, and I believe he himself has taken enough. He may not admit that because he risks losing his parliamentary primaries. But if you ask him sincerely, he will tell you a lot of things are happening that ought not happen. And the only body or group of individuals who have the capacity to change what is happening is the president. We have an executive president who has the power. Now, when people raise issues like this, I think that for the image of even the president and this country, the president should have been willing and authorizing and asking them that, look, allow them to get closer, let their leadership come and present the petition, whether the president was there or not. Anybody could have taken the petition on behalf of
the... See, you are linking the police to the presidency of the government.
It would be the height...
The president may not even have known about
it would be the height of naivety for me or anybody to think that the police are absolutely independent. They reported the Minister for Interior.
Very well. Very well. So okay, very well. So Franklin could wait 1 minute. Let me deal with Franklin. We've not heard from Franklin.
You want me to come back?
We've not heard from Franklin.
You see, it's loving.
I allow you to host.
Haven't you missed Franklin? Franklin could let's know that your point. Franklin, welcome to the program. We've moved to a place where we think that we are suffering this because of mistrust, and we've been trying to proffer views on how that mistrust could be addressed. There's been a talk about democratic temperament, appearance test, legal test, etc. Quite a few words on the show today. What's your view on dealing with this mistrust between the citizenry and state institutions? It's happening with the EC, which we will come to, happens with the police service. Now we're seeing that on the police service. It appears the IGP tries to give a nice face, but maybe it is not as we see it. So he's had to call the protesters to a meeting, and I'm sure there were a few things which were said. And the following day, it happened. The demonstration took place, and it was as was expected. How do we deal with this mistrust? And it cuts across all key public institutions.
Oh, good morning to my good friends and yourself and everybody. Well, I mean, this is a very huge question, and I think Dr. Sai has related the work the Afrobarometer and CDD have done when it comes to public institutions and the trust or deficits that there are. Look, one of the best ways really is to ensure that the leadership of these institutions are actually pragmatic. You know, I'm saying pragmatic because I suspect that irrespective of how the institution is couched, as an independent institution, there are still people who, when they occupy such positions, will be looking over their shoulders anyway, right? I mean, there's this element of the executive trying its long arm, and especially in this dispensation when my good friend, the president, has autocratically chopped off the heads of certain key institutions like the Auditor General and even Charlotte, right? You remember? So people are actually watching over their shoulders, right? But I suspect that it takes a lot more than just occupying the position in these institutions to show leadership. And on this, I think pragmatism is what I think should happen. I would have said that the IGP was pragmatic if indeed his meeting of these few demonstrators, a section of the demonstrators had happened prior to the what we saw, which clearly was untoward, right? But that didn't happen. So it's the occupant of the position that would determine how these trust issues are actually dealt with. I know what I'm saying may come across as though, well, we shouldn't believe in strong men, as Mutala has actually related. But unfortunately, in the African continent, however you dice it up, people still look over their shoulders anyway. There are only few brave souls like the likes of Domelevo and some of those other entities, some of those actors who decided to defy the administration. That would normally see this type of, should I call it, protecting the position that they occupy rather than what should be the norm. So for me, I think if you're hampered with this type of dispensation that you have, you clearly must be pragmatic. And I think that there are better ways of doing so. Look, the Church Commissioner, for instance, has been very, very vociferous against the EC's behavior. And there you see an example of what I call being pragmatic. I've not seen that of the NCCE, right? But these are independent bodies. The NCCE has been shut its mouth and eyes to all the things happening in the EC. I'm sure you'll come to that shortly. So for me, navigating this choppy waters would only mean that when you have pragmatic leaders who essentially want to leave a legacy so that people can relate to their leadership, it's the only way out that we can start building those institutions and building those trust levels. Because again, if that leader shows pragmatism and he leaves office, it will be a very tall order for the next occupant to actually decide to go the other way, right? So as we keep on building our institutions, however emboldened they should be, given the strictures of the Constitution, unfortunately, looking beyond their shoulders, because there's this big man at the executive, within the executive, who may be looking over to see what they are doing. It's a clear border. It may be real or not be real, but clearly that is what we see. I mean, some of us can make all sort of permutations as to what is happening currently with the IGP, for instance, and the kinds of things that are being entertained. But that's how far it will go when it comes to individuals assessing the role of these otherwise independent leaders. So for me, the issue of trust must be vested within the realms of pragmatism of leadership. And indeed, most leaders can be pragmatic without necessarily looking very, should I say, snobbish of the executive. And it can be done.
Very well. But Dr. Osai here spoke about erring on the side of the citizenry. At what point can we say that the demands of the citizens, in an instance, for example, to demonstrate, is unreasonable? They insist they want to use this route. The police, for example, will say, no, you cannot use this route for A, B, and C reasons. At what stage or point will you say that the demands of the citizenry in any such scenario is unreasonable? At what point must they back down and follow what the police, for example, will say?
As I understand, there was some sort of a meeting that was supposed to, or rather, what really happened in this instance was that the demonstrators had written to the the police service, that they intended doing this. And the police sort of waited until almost the late hour to say that they are actually injuncting the process. I think for me, that signals some underhand dealing, which shouldn't have happened. Otherwise, the normal course of things would have been that, well, we agree, we disagree with your route, and then the demonstrators would come back and say, okay, well, we also disagree with the route you are preferring for us. Maybe we should meet at the middle ground and then decide what we should do. If all of those have happened, I'm not sure we'll get to this state that we got to either way. And so for me, the way to go around it, I don't think citizens necessarily have to insist that a particular route should be given to them. When the police have very good reasons to say that, well, we don't think this route will be useful or will be right at this time at this particular time. I mean, it's always a negotiation, and that's the way it should be. That's the way I see it. But otherwise, every citizen has every right to demonstrate at every point in time. And in this case, I don't think the demonstrators would have I don't think Ghana would have lost anything. The demonstrators were allowed to get closer to the Jubilee House anyway. Because look, it was better for them to demonstrate than to actually engage in reckless behavior, which I suspect many people would like to engage in, given the levels of economic decadence and the legendary misgovernance that we are witnessing right now. I mean, I look at the economic numbers. Take a look at the economic numbers. As you speak, the government has borrowed almost 6.3 billion Ghana cedis in this quarter. And the debt levels are almost getting to 600 billion Ghana cedis. And they want to do a next DDE. And for what reason, right? To create space so that they can splurge during the elections. You don't need to be allowing such things to go on when people's lives have been chaotically, shortened through DDEs and all of that. So people have the right to vent, and they must be allowed.
Very well. Bernard, just 1 or 2 minutes on dealing with the mistrust. No, you conclude for us. Hello, Bernard?
Yes. Sorry, I have to attend the funeral. You can see that I've changed my regard here. Obviously, the fact that the Ghana Police Service has constantly used the few lacunas in the Constitution and in the Public Order Act to appease what I call the partisan interest is a major source of suspicion and mistrust for us. The other important point you should know is that we have never run away from the fact that we want to go to court. You recall that at the time when we were doing the Wahala demonstrations, and in fact it was the concerned Ghanaians then that concerned Ghanaians, we chose to do the Ghana at 50 demonstration, a counter demonstration. The police had gone to court, and we were the ones who called the police to say, if you have gone to court, serve us. And when they served us, we also went to court to set aside their injunction that they had obtained. By then, they could go to court ex parte to go and retrieve, because we wanted to engage and exhaust the process. Protesters are not unlawful people. It is actually when we put out our demands for reforms, for justice, for other opportunities, the economic decadence that are going on to be corrected, and they are not corrected. That is the only time we resort to demonstrations as a means of letting the state know that if peaceful resolutions are not the option, then street protestation should be the option for you to understand that our eyes are red, as we say in Ghana. So anytime the police decide to do what they do, to tell us that there is going to be breach of security, you are going to obstruct public safety and what have you, go to Nema right now, go to Shukra right now. We have blocked roads for people to do outdooring, to do funerals, and to do other social events. Have those blockages, have they not impacted on other people's freedoms? So how come that the police will always use these things as basis for which they want to deny us our right to go out there to protest? So that suspicion has always been heightened. And so anytime the police resort to the courts and what have you, we will not. The final point probably I should make is that yesterday I told the IGP and the team that met us that the Electoral Commission, the police is aware, has been served with more than 3 court processes. Why didn't the police go to disrupt the work of the Electoral Commission as they did to us? The police rather are on the ground protecting the registration exercises. When they know that about 6-7 political parties have taken the Electoral Commission to court and the Electoral Commission has been served. When they know that an injunction application has been served on the Electoral Commission.
Very well.
When they know that a contempt application has been served on the Electoral Commission, the police chose to go and protect the Electoral Commission and its work. But when it comes to Democracy Hub and Occupy Jubilee House, that one, the police think that they have to disturb and undermine protesters by going to disrupt. That action is unlawful, and anytime, as I said, the police want to engage in this, they rather embolden us. They bring out the indomitable spirit of the citizens, and we will continue to do what we think will bring about justice, because we must first seek justice before seeking peace.
Very well. Thanks so much, Bernard Mona. Thank you so much. I realize you're attending the funeral. All the best to you. And thanks so much for making time with us this morning. Let me speak to Michael briefly. So, Michael, in your earlier submission, you alluded generally to matters of trust, etc. That is where we are. Can you help us with one or two ways we can resolve this trust and where to draw the line so that we can have a better and congenial working relationship between state institutions and the citizenry who will be interested in vindicating or maybe expressing their rights?
All right, like the mistrust of the citizenry for the police is not only limited to maybe the relationship with like politicians or should I say the government. And I think that one very important institution that we need to look at critically is the Ghana Police Service, because if we have a very strong security and like police service, it will go a long way to really put our society in a better place to really develop. Because at the moment, we are all, there's this notion that politicians are in bed. When I say politicians, especially the government in power, is usually in bed with the Ghana Police Service. And that illusion is not an illusion, because if you look at the structure of the Ghana Police Service, as I said earlier on, the Vice President is the chairman of the Council of the Ghana Police Service. And the President is the appointing authority for the head of the police service. So definitely there is that marriage that makes it difficult sometimes to see the police service as independent. So for that mistrust, once this current structure still exists, that mistrust is going to be there. So this is the thing. As the police leadership should realize that this is a potential threat to their work. So it will now behoove on them to make sure that they exhibit a high level of neutrality and to be able to win the confidence of the citizens. If not, this trust, I must say that it's still going to persist, because we might talk how we want, but it is still going to persist if the current arrangement still exists. But I would like to put in last words before we go. We should know that demonstrations have been with us since the time of independence. In fact, we were able to win independence for this country through some of these demonstrations and agitations. And in the year 2023, I thought we had developed so much that police brutalizing ordinary citizens who are trying to exercise their rights to demonstration is something that shouldn't have been existing. I mean, this happened about 60 years ago, in 1948 and all those years, but we shouldn't be seeing some of those things repeating themselves right now. And the last thing is that I am very surprised that the presidency, whom this whole demonstration was being pointed to, has been quiet over the issue. And it's very disappointing in that regard.
Very well. Thanks so much, Michael. Thank you so much. I now come to Isaf Husseini.
I see that you were torn between calling me a government communicator or a government speaker. I see you were tempted.
You could be a government communicator or a party
speaker. So how do you deal with the difficulties we are having?
I think that the case has been made. That there's mistrust within the system. I cannot run away from it. But you see, the mistrust terms, sometimes it's even from our legal framework. Appointment of the IGP. Every commissioner of police qualifies to be appointed as IGP. Every time there's a vacancy, every commissioner of police will have started lobbying. The current IGP, he lobbied.
He said he didn't.
Please.
He said he didn't.
Unless you have proof otherwise.
Yes.
But he said he didn't.
On national television.
Goodbye.
No, maybe he knew something.
Unless he has something to the contrary. But that's
no, he didn't. So
that's what he said.
He
said he didn't.
So if he's making
so I pointed it out to him. So that's fine.
He had made that point at the commission.
But you know other things. That's fine.
I'm hoping that by the time the committee comes back to sit, some of these things will also come up.
That's saying that the IGP lied. That's what it means. I think one
Let's-
newspaper should carry it.
Go ahead.
I'm urging the media, but this should be a headline news.
So, the appointment of IGP itself, every commissioner is potentially an IGP. So you have to catch the eye of the appointing authority. At every point in time, we can only have one IGP. So, I mean, they being human, there will always be this contest within the hierarchy.
How about the Chief Justice?
And it is not the first time. It is not the first time. It's been there in these institutions. So those are some of the ways. Are we going to start appointing the IGP through other means? What is a globally accepted, time-tested means of appointing IGP to forestall some of these things? And it's the only way by which we grow our institutions. You see, we can sit here and say everything. You see, Mutala said quite a number of things that I want to react to. He had mentioned the fact that the whole New Patriotic Party had congregated at Obrasport. No, I was there.
But not
you
literally.
see, I am not a passive member of the NPP.
Yeah, but you were there.
No, I was there.
Yeah, I'm saying that.
And I'll tell you how come we found
literally,
ourselves.
not literally, because you are more than 6 million, right? And I'm not sure 6 million people could be.
It's similar
at
in
Obrasport.
2012. I recollect at the time. My car I was
refrain
driving.
your statement.
I was driving a Mitsubishi Outlander, and I had these two flags mounted on my car. I had lost.
You've been very
primaries.
active, but you don't look it.
I had lost primaries in 2012 elections.
Okay.
When my constituency was divided, 3 months election, I contested in 2012, and I lost primaries. When the issue started coming up, I was caught up at the EC. I was driving from Ridge Roundabout towards Cathedral, and I was caught up when the NDC had a mass. I didn't know whether they had any, they had notified the police or they had any to be able to congregate at the EC.
So both.
It was
parties,
scary, and to
both
date,
parties are
to date, I have not even recovered. So it is not a Mutala.
Problems with that. So it's not
No
problem. I need to. Yes, no problem. Let him conclude.
My honorable, what, senior? You want me to call you
the best in the primaries. I'm too successful.
Go ahead.
See, there are issues, and I've heard people thinking that there was some underhand dealings between government and the police. Look, when the same Inspector General of Police, under his watch, when Osubenpa was arrested, we sang the praises of the IGP. This is a man who is going to do his work, irrespective of who your friends are.
I didn't.
When he arrested Shatawale, who were in this country, he was going to stem some within our community. The same IGP. Today, you drive past the police headquarters, beautiful, befitting. IGP gets the praises. Today, you hear every now and again, policemen are arrested, some politician, some traffic offense. We sing the praises of the IGP. He's doing a good job. That's what we want to see. An independent police service, irrespective of who is in power. This man is going to do his work. This man is doing his work towards the democracy hub, and then now you want us to believe that there is government behind him, pushing him to do what he's doing. Is that it? Are we picking and choosing when we think it's it? When you were arrested, also nobody came out to say that the presidency or the government had issued it. Nobody said that.
In fact, people said
we have to move away from it.
People said that it was the
We have to move away and support this institution. We all agree that for us to make progress, we need to support these institutions, and we agree. We agree. Let's stop picking and choosing as and when it fits us, where we are at any point in time, to sing praises of the IGP or the police service, and when it doesn't, then we want to believe that there's some underhand dealings. I think that I will go back to my initial point, and we have all made that. He quoted President Obama when he visited, and we were all very happy. We listened to him. We listened to him. We can make progress. And the U.S. has shown it when the former president tried to annex the results of the elections and all of that. Institutions were so strong. And to date, they are still dealing with the matter. That is where we want to go. And so we support the institutions, not only when they favor us, but even when they go against us. That is what we have to do, and especially for the political class. So irrespective of whether we gathered at the Obrasport or we didn't, I think that it's beyond
Very
that.
well.
Let us support this. And let us not sit here and make people believe that because this decision, it is not popular with people that Murtala aligns with, the democracy have. Because he has said he aligns with them. I am not too sure whether as a spokesperson or as a speaker.
No,
I am not too sure.
As a communicator, that I can tell you. That I can tell you. As a communicator, yes.
I am not too sure whether it's at that level. But because today they are dealing with a group that he communicates on their behalf, a group that Murtala communicates on their behalf, because it is not in their favor. So it is government having some hand dealings. I think that we should move on.
Very well.
And it behoves us, the political class, it behoves us for us to.
That is attributed to. So it is
look, what statement have I made? Franklin didn't make a statement about our public debt.
Hold on. Sorry.
Okay, no, let him clear the public debt issue quickly. Clear that.
Yes. The fact that our public debt moves or the change is 6.3 doesn't mean that the government is borrowed to that tune. Moving our exchange rate, given that a lot of those transactions are in foreign currency, and moving our exchange rate will reflect
and the dollar is broken.
Government has not.
And as the dollars are broken,
government has not borrowed
6.3
within the time frame, and that needs to be made.
Very well. So that point is made.
First and foremost, I don't communicate for that group.
Yes, you don't. Yes.
So hold on.
You say as a communicator,
I don't,
not a group.
I don't communicate for that. But you see, this attempt of trying to say a communicator, and I thought
we're just making fun. We're just making fun.
Hold on, please.
Okay.
I didn't speak Musi. I think that seems to be the language. I didn't speak Musi, which he is, and I didn't speak Ga, which is partly is. I didn't speak Dagbani, which is the language of his masters. I spoke English, and what I said was that if I come here on this program, and I don't seek to speak for NDC as a political party.
Then you speak for yourself.
You asked me a specific question.
Okay.
And I said, you are asking me the question as your panelist or as Murtala. Or you are asking me the question as someone who is communicating for the party. Now, I don't have the authority to make a statement for and on behalf of the party. When the party takes a decision, this is the line that the party goes. Then I communicate that.
That's clear.
But see, on the issue of what my good brother said on the economy and his Abba, everybody knows that the dollar has broken jail. It's a fugitive now. Everybody knows that unemployment is over 14% now. Everybody knows that you can't buy any. The minister for Agric had to bring plantain sellers to the ministry. So it takes only privileged few.
And it was very cheap. And it was very cheap. All right, so this is the big issue. I really wanted to give you a last bite, but maybe, this is the big issue. We have been discussing the matter of the Occupy Jubilee House protest and what the police did, etc. We've tried to profess some solutions here and there. This is how we draw the curtains on this segment of the program. We'll move to the next. But thanks so much to you, Michael Donina, Executive Director for the Center for Public Opinion and Awareness, and Bernard Mona as well, a man of many parts. Thanks so much. I return from this break, and then we deal with the next matter, which is on the limited voter registration exercise with the remainder of my guests, Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed, Fuseni Isa, Dr. John Osai Kopon, and Franklin Kujo. My name is Selam Adunu. I'll read some of your messages when we also come back. Don't go away. All right, welcome back to the big issue. Just gone by was a discussion on the protest and the issues that dogged that particular event. Your messages have come through. This one from Junes Adobo in La says, good morning, Selam. Demonstrations are the only lawful means by which citizens can vent out their frustration and anger. But if they continue to use rough tactics to prevent them, get ready to blame yourself for consequences. Be a citizen and not a spectator. Well, I don't think it's the only means, one of the means here. But your point well noted, Jones. This one didn't add the name. It says, good morning, Citi. My salary is 2,000 Ghana cedis. What decent life can I have with this salary? I have a wife and a child who has started school. I have rent to pay at the end of the year. Groceries are expensive. Medications are also expensive. I buy electricity credit 200 cedis every month, every 2 weeks. You have a president and his appointees taxing us every day with little to show? Aren't we tired, especially when the president promised us heaven on earth? What's annoying is the vice president who was part of this mess we are in wants to become president. Well, Prince Henry in Kufurida says the policemen who were sent to arrest the innocent souls are not experiencing the hardships many are experiencing in Ghana. No wonder we have a police force which has been described as MPP force, not the Ghana Police Service. So Proverbs 29:2 is what we are experiencing under the mother serpent of corruption. The future is pregnant. What goes around will surely come around, you say. That's Prince Henry. Samuel Opon in a Captain Month, he says, what at all is democracy that cannot be practiced by these two political parties? The problem has been you journalists who have not been asking them questions, making references to what they did when they were in power. These people continue to repeat what we have heard over the years. Can't we make progress in our public lives? Let power change next time. And the people speaking against the police today will speak in their favor and the others against. Is Ghana a republic of talkatives with no action? We are tired of you people. There's some more. Don't be tired. I mean, there's hope. Keep your hope alive. Niado in Amanfro says, good morning, Salon. Please ask Bernard Mona and his NDC friends, should Mahama become president in 2025 and occupy the Jubilee House, will they continue referring to the Jubilee House in the way they refer to it? Well, so I'm sure Bernard Mona has heard that. So we make progress. We look at the next matter. Now, and the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Jim Mensah, has given a firm assurance that no eligible voter who is desirous of registering to vote in the 2024 general election will be disenfranchised. The EC chairperson told the Daily Graphic that the commission would roll out a continuous registration exercise across the country next year to ensure that all qualified persons were registered. The EC started a limited voters registration exercise on September 12th, seeking to register persons who have turned 18 after the previous registration exercise. The 21-day exercise is also an opportunity for people who have not previously registered with the commission to have their names captured on the voters' roll. A section of the public and some political parties raised concerns that the EC was deliberately trying to prevent some eligible persons from participating in the registration process. The EC chairperson says the commission had put in place the needed measures to ensure that all qualified persons were captured in the register. The EC chair also said that aside from the continuous registration exercise that will happen, the commission would also identify areas that were difficult to access and undertake a mop-up registration exercise in those areas.
The limited voter registration process is now in its second week, scheduled to conclude on October 2. However, the exercise has encountered several setbacks, including equipment breakdowns and network failures. These issues led to a slow start in registrations during the initial 2 days. Consequently, the Commission has had to revise its approach, transitioning from online-only registrations to a combination of online and offline methods. This adjustment has resulted in an increase in the daily number of registered individuals.
This led us to revise our policy to allow for the use of both online and offline methods of registration. I'm happy to note that since the revision of this policy, the process of registration has been seamless and unhindered. And I give you an example. On day 1, that is Tuesday, the 12th of September 2023, relying solely on the online mode of registration, we captured just 12,467 registrants throughout the country. However, with the swift policy change, which now allows the use of both online and offline methods of registration, we have seen an increase in the numbers of registered voters.
Despite the Commission's efforts to rectify these challenges, the National Democratic Congress has accused the Commission of engineering the breakdown of registration machines in their strongholds. The Commission, however, has vehemently dismissed these allegations.
I share these examples to demonstrate that as a Commission, We are on the ground and working around the clock to ensure that every eligible voter who is eligible to register or who is desirous to register as a voter does. We have heard of allegations from various quarters that the Commission is disenfranchising eligible voters. This is false. It is not in our interest as a Commission to disenfranchise any eligible voter.
A prominent criticism against the Commission has been its decision to confine the registration to district offices, seen as disadvantageous to individuals located far from these district offices. Nevertheless, the Commission, through its chairperson, affirmed during a press conference that all eligible voters desiring to register will be provided with the opportunity to do so even after the conclusion of this limited voter registration.
It is not a full-blown registration. It is important to note that this will not be the only registration exercise before the 2024 election. In line with our plans to promote an inclusive, participatory registration process, we plan to institute continuous registration in all our district offices nationwide in 2020 for a considerable length of time. In addition to that, we will identify difficult to access areas and undertake a mop-up registration of voters in those areas.
Official figures released by the Commission indicate that a total of 182,831 first-time voters have registered in the first 6 days of the exercise, a number the Commission expressed satisfaction with.
Northern Region has registered 12,982, registering 7.1%. Northeast has registered 4,244, representing 2.3%. Upper East has registered 8,639, representing 4.7%. Upper West has registered 5,241, representing 2.9%. And it gives us a national total of 182,831.
All right, so that was Jane Mensah providing some updates on the limited voter registration exercise. All right, so we'll take the rest of the time to discuss this. And so on the panel is my guests as well. I mean, we've been on this since 9 o'clock. And Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed, MP, Tamale Central, Fuseni Issa, former MP, Okankwe North, Dr. John Osai Kwapon, political scientist and CDD fellow, Franklin Kuju, President, Imani Africa. I'll start with you, Doc, CDD fellow and all of that. What has been your observation? The EC boss is telling us that there's been an improvement over the period. Of course, first few days were a bit rocky, but things are improving. She also gives the assurance that nobody eligible and willing will be disenfranchised. Well, what do you make of this? Is it just talk, or you think they've put in place enough measures to ensure this?
So let me make a few, a few quick points, because I think that's the context within which the EC is operating, and how some of its decisions are viewed. So the first thing is that we've already mentioned the lack of trust in institutions. In the case of the EC, in the most recent Afrobarometer, the level of trust is at a very low level. Only 10% of respondents said they trust the EC a lot. So that's the first cloud that is hanging, over the Electoral Commission. Then there's the role of the political parties and how they view the EC. In my observation, it appears to me that over the course of the Fourth Republic, our two main political parties have come to believe that their success or otherwise at the polls is contingent upon the conduct of the, not even just the EC as an institution, but in particular the chairperson of the EC. So that's the other cloud that the EC operates under. I've listened to Dr. Srebo a lot. I've been on a number of programs with him. And he does make the policy argument for why sometimes the EC takes some of these decisions, like, for example, the Ghana card. And again, there was a report in 2012 by the Carter Foundation when it observed the limited voter registration, and it indicted our political parties as being, quote unquote, complicit in some of the things that happen with the voters register. So every election, we try to sanitize and put in new measures that builds confidence in the voters register. Then you have the rights of the citizen, that fundamental right to vote. Then you also have this cultural, or should I say institutional position of the EC over the years that says, I'm an independent institution, quote unquote, nobody can tell me what to do. I remember Afrajan famously said the Constitution is my boss. So that anything involving the EC, then we have to resort to the court or the Supreme Court for the interpretation. And the EC guards their independence very jealously. I think sometimes, in my opinion, to a fault, that it doesn't even make it flexible and open to certain reasonable requests. Then the other cloud they are operating under is how we view elections. So again, if you look at Afrobarometer, where there's the question about how free and fair did you think the last election was, when you disaggregate it by partisan affiliation, you realize that even in what I call I wrote about this in graphic last week, even in an election like the 2016 election, which is in the history of AB, the one that has been rated the most free and fair. If you split it by party affiliation, 78% of those who say they feel close to the NPP believed it was completely free and fair. Only 51% of those who affiliate, who say they are close to the NEC, rated it as free and fair. I can understand in the case of, let's say, 2012 and 2020, which I describe as contested elections because one major party rejected the results and sought sort of arbitration in the courts. But even there, so there's that partisan thing. I say all of this to say that for me, in my opinion, when this exercise started and the whole idea of why limit it to only the district capital, I always say that because the rights of the citizen to vote is so fundamental, the position of the Electoral Commission, who has the constitutional right to operationalize how that right can be exercised by the citizen, should view it as reducing the burden on the citizen to be able to exercise and enjoy that right, which means that it has to be willing to accommodate things that I believe are very reasonable requests, right? If you understand the geography of Ghana, right, sometimes depending on where one lives in a particular district, even getting to the district capital may be a challenge. So I don't see anything unreasonable about saying, okay, in addition to the district capital, let's add 5 other centers within the district. Those things for me allows the EC to recognize that let me not, quote unquote, place too many burdens in the in the path of the citizen in trying to enjoy this right.
You share the view that the way the EC is carrying out its job now could amount to voter suppression.
Yes, it could, because if the burden is such that I, as a citizen, I look at it and I say, why should I even bother and go through all of this to even get my name? Why bother? Then you are the impediment suppresses and have denied, right? So that's why, again, I keep saying we have to try, our institutions have to try and always think of the citizen. And how can I make the process of the citizen engaging in the democratic activities a little less burdensome? The last thing for me then is that, in as difficult as this may be, because our two main political parties, have this view of the EC and elections and what happens or what doesn't happen, still I put the burden back on the EC to find ways to, no matter how difficult, deliberation is important, consensus building is important, trying to accommodate requests that I believe are reasonable and doesn't compromise your independence that you fiercely guard, but also doesn't violate, the law. because we are going into another major election, right? And for me, the EC, through its actions or inactions, has to be seen as playing truly the fair and impartial arbiter role, like the referee in a football match. Yes, if I'm on the losing side, when my team Chelsea loses, you can see me on Facebook saying bad things about the referee. That's for me is, and again, for me, I go back to the trust issue. I think that the EC should be very sensitive to that trust issue, because the ingredient of trust is crucial when it comes to our elections. And the trust should not be limited to just the outcome of the election, right? It should also include all the processes that leads to, election day. Normally, when we think of free and fair elections, we are thinking of the outcome and whether the outcome is acceptable to all of the parties. But the processes itself is also very important, and we have to be able to have both the confidence and the trust. And I would always put the burden back on the EC, regardless of how it feels about the actors, the political parties, their stubbornness or lack thereof, that it should still say that I would make sure that the decisions that I take, the things that I do in preparation, is viewed as fair and impartial. Because the last thing you want is your citizens or a section of your citizens feeling that, I can't trust you, or you are not that fair in all of this. And that's my thought on this.
I see.
This issue.
Honorable Isafuseni, I guess you've been going around to monitor the registration exercise. How's it been going? Do you think that all corners of your constituency are being served, properly so in this registration exercise? I know some of the MPs say they have had to be facilitating that process. You are not an MP, but you have an interest in the process. How's it going for you? Is it what you expected? In fact, your colleague MP from Weja, Dr. Adoma Fukisi, I saw a letter, something he wrote to the EC asking that 4 or 5 more centers be put in certain areas, Lomnava, so to many few other places, because the place was very huge. I don't know what you're thinking around this is.
So I think that when it comes to the constituencies, they may be unique in themselves. So when I give the instance of what is pertaining in my constituency, it might not be necessarily what is happening in Dr. Adimako's, although we share boundaries.
Okay.
It's like that. The ongoing registration exercise, I recollect on the first day when I went to my constituency and district office, the number of people who were registered were just 45.
Thursday.
45 for the whole day. A week after, I think the EC had the press conference on a Monday, right? The Sunday before the Monday, we're doing 170. That'll be a week tomorrow. And since then, in fact, I was there on a holiday, the Thursday. Within the queue, there were empty seats. That's where we've got into. So these things, when they do happen, and when this process starts, the EC went in there with a target. And don't forget, the EC itself, Doc spoke about the independence of the EC, and that we all want to guard with some level of, we need to ensure that the EC is independent. But you see, that independence itself can also not be left to just the EC. That is why Parliament as an institution also has checks and balances. If the EC wants to retain its independence, it has to work with other state institutions. Every year the EC will go to Parliament, will appear before the Special Budgets Committee, and Parliament has a way to get institutions to behave when it comes to it, because it's a checks and balances that the Constitution puts on the EC, and that's been effective. Look, typically, this year, the EC had gone to Parliament with a CI, Constitutional Instrument, and the EC went to Parliament with a CI based on its mandate under Article 45.
Yes.
And Article 45, the EC has a mandate to compile this register. And this thing evolves over time. So the Constitution itself is a framework, and the EC has to operationalize it over time. We started off in 1992. We didn't even have photo ID cards. Over time, we have improved the processes. But it's still been the same Constitution.
The
so
Constitution
it sets out the
is
framework.
a living organism.
That's it.
To form as Attorney General.
So over time, we operationalize some of these things. The EC had gone there with the object of, because we've been able to get to a large extent Ghanaian citizenry register under the National Identification Authority. We have a database in place. So we could go on with continuous registration, such that we don't have to do what we have been doing 6, 7, 8 years ago. Because, look, when I first became a parliamentary candidate in 2016, within the limited registration exercise, my constituency, we had to facilitate. We had to facilitate new registrants, take them to Kaneshi. We didn't have a district office within our constituency. Today we do.
That was for
at Achimota.
District assembly elections, not the general elections.
So, I'm saying 2016.
Yes.
Ran up to the general elections.
So because the thing was being done
at the time, we had one district office for Okankwe North, Okankwe Central, Okankwe South.
As you were saying that it was done, the registration was done just at the
district offices.
Really?
I am telling you.
In 2016?
I am telling you. I was a parliamentary candidate in 2016.
No.
Yes. No. We had to go to Kaneshi. I am telling you. Today, the people who are crying foul and giving us distances from one end of one constituency to the other, I'm asking myself, where were they then? I am not a spokesperson for the EC. And in any case, I believe that our processes should be improving. So today, if we have registering at Achimota, I think that it's a mass improvement. But you see, even more important is the fact that the EC chair had a presser last Monday. She brought out some of these issues, and she even went ahead to tell us how some of them had been resolved, including, let's say, the case of the Tamale Metropolis, where the first day the equipment were not working. Subsequently, 4 more stations had been added. I am telling you, giving you the figures. I am giving you the figures from Okankwe North. Thursday we did 45. A week after that, we were doing, less than a week after that, we were doing 170. So the EC is continuously engaging. The processes are improving. And I am not again the spokesperson of the EC, because whatever complaints anybody is doing, look, we as a party, the New Patriotic Party, are also going through the same thing. Because you don't go to the EC with the preconceived coloration to say that I am registering as an NPP voter. No. Everybody walks in, irrespective of whether you're NPP, NDC, you go through the same thing. Whether you're from Drabusu to what, it's the same thing. But you see, I still will come to what we have discussed earlier. The bastardization of institutions and the personalization of some of these things. The EC chair took the trouble, told us, Tamale Metropolis, when it started, Thursday the equipment were not working. Subsequently, we've added stations. Now, the queues are not there. That is what we want to see. But more important to me, is that the rights guaranteed under the Constitution, Article 42, every Ghanaian of voting age has the right to get their name on the register. They have the right to vote, and for them to have the right to vote, they have to go through this process. But I'll tell them, you see, even beyond all of these challenges, I am looking forward to a point in time where, because I have a national identification card, prior to elections, I go to a polling station and say, this is where I want to vote on polling day. It is not for EC now to compile a register. All I need is to identify myself on a device and my name put on that register. So on the election day, I walk into that polling station to vote. That's what I'm looking forward to. And thankfully, this infrastructure is being built by the government of the New Patriotic Party. This is what we are heading towards. We have operationalized The law that we set out under President Kufuor, now today, over 17 million Ghanaians have NIA cards. Let's move away from the duplication of and waste of our resources and compilation of registers like we did in 2020. And I'm sure these are the things that will actually help us achieve progressive development in our democratic dispensation. And these are the things that will push us forward. We are not there yet. Those complaints and all of that. Look, the EC went ahead to say that further to whatever is happening, subsequent to that, there will be continuous registration for the first time. We know what happened in Parliament. The minority once again holding us to ransom. If you don't do this, we won't do that. I agree. Sometimes these are check and balances on institutions like the EC, like I've said. EC appearing at the special budget committee is a way to also check the EC, at the institution like Parliament. And I'm a very strong advocate for the building of the legislature. I think that it is with the arm of government that we need to contribute and make sure that we resource. If we don't resource Parliament, I don't think that we ever will enjoy or benefit from this democratic dispensation. That one, it's very clear. So those check and balances, they will be in there. The EC started off on one footing. Thankfully, we have made progress. We have made progress. And I'm looking forward to every Ghanaian who has a right and was willing to register should be able to give him the right to register.
You don't think the process as it is, disincentivizes the young person who has to travel from one end of the constituency to the center?
So that's what I'm saying. And the EC admits to the fact that it had gone to Parliament with a program based on the CI of continuous registration, where we don't have to do this in 21 days.
But the CI will not pass as we like it. It hasn't passed.
At that point, when they went to a special budgets committee, you had taken a program and resources had been allocated based on that program, based on assumption that we don't have to congregate in one place over 21 days. This has to be so. At your convenience, anytime you're on vacation or you go to a district capital, you can walk into the EC. And the budget for that is different. The budget for getting people to congregate in one place is also different. So these are constraints that the EC is working. It's a fine line.
So the great point. But is it not strange? So you have explained it quite well. Yeah. Is it not strange that the EC itself, for whatever reason, maybe the way they present the posture doesn't, the posture becomes a barrier to their message getting through?
You see, we've had this whole thing of, once again, I had mentioned, I think on this platform, how again, heads of these institutions, how we have viewed them within some collaboration.
We fix it here.
So it is just but I think that the EC has made progress.
And it could be better.
It still could be better. And nobody should think that this is a process of disenfranchising one part of the political divide. NPP as a party,
you're also affected.
We also dotted across the country.
Your strongholds, the things moving fast.
That's a perception. I don't think it's real.
Okay, that's fine. Mutala, have you also been on the ground? I mean, have you been moving around checking the progress of the registration? What have you been seeing? What have you found out?
Well, first and foremost, it is interesting that he seems to know what happens in Tamale Metropolis than me when my constituency is there. Please, can I make my points? I listen to you. You've taken a lot of time. You've taken a lot of time. I have 8 minutes. Now,
Franklin is there.
Yeah, you see, and he has taken so much time.
Don't worry, go ahead.
The worry is when you say that it's been politicized. When you appoint MPP party activists as leaders or managers of the Electoral Commission, people would have genuine reasons to raise these concerns.
I've read.
Can I finish?
You
remember when I said that Jean Mensa was a family relation to the First Lady, Kweku Baku, and I mentioned the name specifically, sat on Newsfile and Good Morning Ghana and said I was lying, and everybody believed. Kweku Baku still owes me an apology. Only for it to be proven in court that Jean Mensa is indeed a family member to Rebecca Akufo-Addo. But can I finish? We are concerned about the perception We are concerned about the concerns people have about
You recollect
the
how
lack of
Afrajan was
independence. Please, at least Afrajan was not.
No. Well, tell them just a little. Recently, when the NDC lawyers met,
you should take control.
it is alleged.
Take control of the program. So that is one. Two, Dr. Bosman Asare was my 2 years senior in Lagos.
I see.
Dr. Bosman Asare was an MPP activist. When he became the head of department of the political science department, he became the patron of the NPP. So are you denying the fact that he's also not an activist of the NPP? So he was not just a TESCON member. He rose to become a patron for TESCON on campus. So when you appoint party activists to manage the affairs of the Electoral Commission, these are the concerns people would have. Recently, I was on a sister program.
And the concerns
can
just
I finish? Please. Recently, I was on a sister station. And I said Jean Mensah was an MPP activist. Dr. Bosman Asare saw the need to call onto the program. And his first statement was that, no, Jean Mensah is not an activist of MPP. In any case, I don't know whether he speaks for Jean Mensah on matters of political parties she associates herself with. But what I got from his intervention was that he knew that it was immoral, it was unethical for a party activist to be managing the affairs of elections in Ghana. Then I said, how about you? TESCON member, TESCON patron. So it means that he wasn't fit to be there. But let me come to the issue. So that settles. I'm saying that by his logic, that Jean Mensah was not an activist of the NPP, and therefore Jean Mensah was fit to be there.
The truth is
but
that
by his
the
logic,
former women organizer of the NDC, they've never been appointed onto the EC.
That is never true. You guys came out with posted. It was proven that it was a lie. She has never been an activist. I'm just saying that yet you appointed family members.
She was woman organizer of the party.
That's not true. That
is true.
That is not true.
It is true.
The father was the chairman of the party, not her. You don't even know your facts.
So,
but let me come to the issue of the elections. Article 42 of the 1992 Constitution is very clear. It says, among others, that every citizen has the right to be registered. And to be registered, in fact, to vote in an elections and referendum. And the only body clothed with the authority legally and constitutionally to ensure that people have the right to register is the Electoral Commission. There is no any single institution in this country that is clothed with the power and the authority to ensure that that aspect of the Constitution, Article 42, is realized by every citizen except the Electoral Commission. And therefore, whatever action the Electoral Commission takes must ensure that people are not denied that constitutional right. Now, apart from the Constitution, the Electoral Commission itself comes to Parliament for us to make a law for them. You can describe it as EC's law. The CI 91 and CI 25 as amended is the Electoral Commission's own law. They come Parliament, we want you to pass a law so that we augment what the Constitution says to ensure that citizens who are up to the age. The CIA is
go ahead.
The CIA is EC's law.
I still have Franklin.
So what's the point?
CIA come to Parliament. How many times has Parliament
What is the
point? No, he's drawing minutes.
What point is he even making?
You just have 1 minute.
Oh, 1 minute. That's not fair. And that's why I was raising the issue.
No problem. I'll give you 2 minutes. I'll give you 2 minutes. I'll give Franklin 1 minute.
It's not fair.
I agree. So
yes.
So
I'm saying that they say, oh no, that's fine. I'm cool with it. In fact, I will mind just the station. The CI itself, you can describe it as the EC's law. Now, if we take the Constitution and the CI, both CI 91 and CI 25 as amended, all indicates the right of people to be registered, citizens who are 18 years and above with sound mind, and the need for them to be registered to participate in an elections at a place convenient. We have never done any elections at the EC's office. Every election is done at the polling stations. Now, reference to the 2016, we had over 5,000 registration centers. So it's certainly not true that it was only limited to district offices. Now, we have almost 300 and something districts in this country. The EC doesn't even have offices in all the districts across the country. Now, the EC is telling us that they have 267, now 270 registration centers. So the idea that the registration is even done as district offices is not accurate, so because some districts are not. Now, from day 1 to 9, the only statistics provided by the Electoral Commission out of the total registration, 63% of those who have registered from the day 1 to 9 registered with the guarantor system. 63. And only 37 people who registered with the Ghana card.
37 people.
37, yeah, percent registered with the Ghana card, and 0.41 registered with passport. Now, the reason why we have problem with the CI that the EC has in Parliament that we think it will never be passed is because of the attempt to disenfranchise people who participate in it. But you see, the MPP is so inconsistent, so unprincipled. The very day the EC held a press conference and indicated they were going to have the registrations done at the district offices, Joy FM specifically interviewed one of the spokespersons of the political parties that were present at the IPAC meeting. The NDC was not there. And then he said that the Electoral Commission came with that proposal. And all the political parties, including MPP, kicked against that proposal. Now they interviewed the MPP deputy, one of their deputy general secretaries. And he said, yes, we agree with the political parties. Within 48 hours, they turned 360 degrees and they have virtually become unsolicited spokesperson for the Electoral Commission, which he demonstrated today. So your lack of principles as a political party is a danger to the democracy of this country.
Franklin, so Franklin, I mean, are we making progress? Is the EC making progress? Your microphones are off. Franklin. Hello, Franklin.
Where were you in 2016?
Franklin, have we made progress from day 1 till now? The EC says we've made quite some progress. Do you agree?
You didn't find your voice.
Your microphones are off, guys.
Well, you know, the EC has been very Machiavellian in its approach. Look, and again, very doggedly as well. Just recently, they came out with some analysis that they are revising even the numbers that they thought they were going to register. Anyway, I'm sure. I mean, why would you want to do something like that? Just allow people to register many registration centers. I mean, that's great.
Franklin, I mean, as always, I appreciate your time. Issa Fuseni, former MP of Kankri North, Murtala Mohammed, MP, Tamale Central, and then Dr. John Osai Kwapon, Political Science and CDG Fellow. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. We are grateful that you made time for us. My name is Solomon. Catch you again same time next week.